Yeah, they're doing great. Football's starting soon. Britain's going to be a freshman. Oh, yeah. Football and the girls are doing cheerleading. I can't wait to get a sweatshirt. Cheer, Dad. I know, I'm here. Absolutely. I'm proud. Oh, it's good to see Mikey. I'm glad you sent Mikey out the other day. Yeah, I'm out there shooting the. I was out there talking to someone, and he comes running out. I don't even notice the guy. I mean, he lost half the weight since the last time I saw him. Great shape. Great shape. I mean, he was never really bad shape, but now he's in terrific shape. Just a good kid, good heart. Although I think I seriously think he missed his calling. He should have been a stand-up comedian. I mean, he is the funniest person. Oh, I know, but he's a stand. He should be on a sitcom or one of the funniest people. I remember one time you're sitting in my parents' my kitchen. It was a Friday night. It's me, Greg Hamill, Liam Seward, Mikey, Ray Kern probably, and my mom goes, "Mikey, how's UMass doing?" He goes, "Oh, good." She goes, "What class do you take?" He goes, "Well, I'm taking an elective." He goes, "Yeah, what's that?" She goes, "Weightlifting." And my mother burst out laughing. He was like, "What?" I'm serious. He was serious, but the way he just comes across, he has perfect timing, so it looks like it's a joke. Oh yeah, you have a good family. Oh, so he's exactly 1 year younger than me. So I'm going to be 42 in November. Wow. What? I make a motion to start this meeting. Everybody left. Where'd everybody go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we have 9.
We've had a quorum since 7 o'clock. Yeah, we've had a quorum. Okay.
No problem. What's that?
Change your apartment. Go back to school. Mr. Leahy?
Yes,
sir.
No problem. I hope you stay caffeinated and sugared up. Actually, you can thank Mr. Plaisance behind me. He told me I should start doing something around here. So, how about those Red Sox?
Not good.
Not good. Not good at all. I had 2 tickets for Sunday night, 8:35. Give them to my brother Thomas. How about that poor Bat Boy? Awful. See that? Uh-oh.
Get going. I'd like to call this August 4th session of the Hoyoke City Council to order. I will record those members present. We'll just go through. Councilor Tallman.
Here.
Councilor Soto. Present. Councilor Leahy.
Present.
Councilor Graney.
Here.
Councilor McGivern.
Here.
Councilor Lisi.
Here.
Councilor Bartley.
Here.
Councilor Vacan.
Here.
Councilor Shatnoff.
Here.
Councilor Valentin.
Here.
Councilor LeBron Martinez, not with us. Councilor Alexander, not with us. Councilor Bresnahan, not with us. Councilor McGee, not with us. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
And the City of Hoyoke.
And the City Council.
Before we begin this evening, I would like to ask the body to take a moment of silence to remember a longtime city employee who worked for many, many years at the Board of Health, who we remember, who unfortunately we lost, and that was Linda Halama Goodwin. Linda was a great employee of the city, and we wanted to pay our respects to Linda's memory. Thank you. We have one item that's currently on the table, and that's regarding a classification and compensation plan schedule change, item number 1. Is there any motion to remove it from the table?
Motion to remove from the table.
Okay. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. We now move on to public comment. We have 4 people who have signed up for public comment this evening. The first being our representative, Aaron Vega. Representative Vega lives at 17 Linden Street here in Hoyoke, and we welcome Representative Vega.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members of this council. Great to see everybody. I just want to take a few moments just to update everyone on the ballot questions, and I know a little out of order if necessary, but I would be here available for any questions. It's number 60 and 69, your agenda. Don't really feel like staying the whole time. But just to set the record straight and make sure that we're all on the same page, I sent an email to everybody on the 20th or 21st of last month with the email updates on the treasurer position and the language change sent by the House Counsel. And I think that amended language is before you tonight. I just want to make sure that everyone received it because I didn't hear back from anybody, so I just want to make myself available to make sure there's any questions. The council president and I have been working on this for quite some time. And just to go real quickly, in March 18th, you filed bills, orders for the treasurer legislation and the city council size. In May, 4-year mayor and 4-year council were filed. In April, I came with Senator Humison. We spoke to the government relations meeting. I believe there's only 4 or 5 councilors there, but we, at that point, did raise the concern about how the treasurer language was worded. On May 7th, my legislative aide, Patricia Duffy, sent Kevin Joe Picozzi's concern. He's in the House Counsel regarding the legislation. Then we were in communication with Kara, and Kara communicated with House Counsels regarding the Treasurer Act and how it came from Council. Council President Jordan joined myself and Rory Casey from the Mayor's Office in Boston for the Committee on Municipalities hearing on the 16th, and everything was heard well. And we have the 3 bills, the size of the City Council, the Mayor term, and the City Council term are now in the Senate. They will most likely pass out of Senate in informal session during August. And we are waiting for your amendment, your approval of the amendment for the treasurer. It's sitting in 3rd readings. Once they're already aware, once we get the approval from yourselves, signed off by the mayor, again, we've been working with Kara. That should come right to us. We'll actually mail it in, or I'll drive it in, and that should move without any hiccups on that. So just to kind of recap, just to be clear, the council approved an order for the treasurer position to be changed from elected to appointed. The issue, of course, was compounded by our former treasurer vacating the office, so there had to be a special election. Basically, in a nutshell, in the end, it kind of is what we sort of thought would happen, where we have to have a special election for the treasurer to finish out that term, the 2 years. But then the ballot question to remove that position will be on the ballot question, will be on the ballots for the citizens to decide. In essence, that elected treasurer in essence, becomes the first appointed treasurer by this body. At the end of 2 years, though, which is the language that we changed working with you, you can reappoint somebody else, or appoint somebody else, I should say. And perhaps by that time, other legislation or other bills that have been filed through this august body looking at the combining of departments may be moving forward, and I know that that's sort of the impetus for all that. The last thing I want to say, I know there's order number, I believe it's 69 on the agenda. The idea of moving the school committee to 4 years never came to my office, so just making sure, I mean, I know the council president and I discussed this a little bit. It may have gotten lost in the shuffle. I believe that order may still be in the Charter and Rules Committee. So, again, on those 5, 6, 7, 8 correspondence, it never came up. If you're going to file a separate one and pass it tonight, we will move it as fast as we can. Obviously, we are not in formal session in August, so the municipality's hearing will not happen until September. I'll have to work with the city clerk's office to find out what's the last possible deadline to get that out. And as you can see, going through the process, then over to the Senate, it takes a little bit of time. So we will try our best if you decide to pass that tonight regarding the school committee. But again, it's going to be a little bit of a tight schedule. So just wanted to make sure I was here to relay that information.
Thanks, Aaron, for coming down. In light of that, we have items 68 and 69. We could, since Aaron's here, suspend the rules to go to those two items now.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to go suspend the rules to go to items 68 and 69 on the agenda now. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Hey, Gordon. How you doing? All right.
Okay. Item number 68 is an order introduced by Councilor Jordan. Ordered that the mayor and city council approve amendments to the previously adopted petition to the Massachusetts General Court to enact an act establishing an appointed treasurer for the city of Holyoke, which was filed by Representative Vega. See attached draft legislation. Everybody should have a copy of this. I know a copy was emailed, although I will say some councilors said they didn't get the email. But nevertheless, the change is as Representative Vega articulated, and it's basically that this election will take place this November 3rd, and that there will also be basically the election of the interim person to serve the final 2 years. And then the second, there will be a ballot question that specifically asks if people want to have an elected or non-elected treasurer, and that'll take effect in 2007 for the 2017 election or non-election in that case. So if the public votes for it, so it's just a technical edit. I would best as I can describe it so that Representative Vega can continue this in the process. Is there any? Councilor Lisi.
Do you want to just clarify for folks at home that the special election for the treasurer's office is special this year because they have a 4-year term typically, and this is the center, the middle of their term?
Right, yeah, thank you. So basically what happened here is we have this 1936 special act that said that if the treasurer leaves in the first 2 years of his 4-year term, that we have to have a special election for the remaining 2 years. In the original edit that the city council sent to Boston, we had eliminated that. We made a change to that. But ultimately, through the representative's office, it was determined that they don't want us to do that, and that they want us to have this special election for the remaining 2 years, as opposed to the council appointing for the remaining 3 years. So that's basically what happened. If the treasurer had left in the final 2 years, then the council would have appointed for the remaining 2 years as opposed to a special election. So now you'll have, and I believe candidates have taken out papers. I think today was the last day for nomination papers, and there's some people running for the special election. It is the remaining 2 years on the term, and then there will be a ballot question to have on the ballot whether or not they want to change it permanently from elected to appointed. So, and that's what we're doing here. Councilor Graney.
Yeah, Mr. President, I think it should be pointed out, too, to the people at home that if we vote in favor of this, we're not voting that we are in favor of an appointed treasurer rather than an elected treasurer. It's just to put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a binding ballot question.
Right.
I mean, the public ultimately has the authority to do what they want. They're going to
Exactly. So the councilors that are voting tonight, vis-à-vis myself, I am opposed to an appointed treasurer. I would rather see the people elected, but
Okay.
I will vote to put it on the ballot for the people.
Okay, very good. Any other? I mean, we've debated this whole topic before previously. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, just briefly, Mr. President, people at home, in 2017, would that be a 2-year term or would it be a 4-year term?
It would be
The appointed name.
if we
Election.
the vote this November will be it's whether or not it'll remain elected.
Right.
If the public votes to keep it as is, then nothing will change. It'll stay a 4-year term. It'll be elected. That'll be the end of it. If it's a no vote, if it's a yes vote, then it'll be appointed, and it's going to be appointed by the city council.
For how many years?
3 years.
I don't know if we've created a term yet or not.
Okay, that's what I was.
I'd have to ask Kara what was the origin if we had. Not more than 3 years. Up to a 3-year term.
Up to a 3-year term that would be appointed by the council.
Council, correct.
Just the council, nobody
Correct.
else. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And as you know, we've discussed previously merging this position, if that were to go through, with the tax collector position, which has a 3-year term. Councilor McGivern had his hand up first.
On Councilor Graney's comments, it's true, but at the same time, thanks to Representative Vega, if the legislature did not want to put this on the ballot, they didn't have to.
Correct.
They could have adopted this language.
Correct.
So it was rolling the dice if voting in favor of this, if you were just wishing to put it on the ballot, because the legislature, but thanks to Aaron, they are doing the correct thing. I have a question, and it's about just real quick about something that Representative Vega said, but I'd like to suspend the rules and ask the city solicitor to approach.
Second.
Sure. Motion, suspend the rules to allow the city solicitor to address questions 68 and 69. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Councilor McGivern?
Thank you. Karen, my question is, if this language passes, I understand that the elected position will go away. And Aaron just said that, and I realize that might just be semantics here, but the appointed, the special election candidate winner would be, in a sense, the first appointed official. That probably is true, but there are some ramifications of that in terms of recall elections, in terms of what ifs. Who is this person going to report to if there's no longer an elected position? And I don't think we've quite ironed that out. And I was thinking that if even in a special election, the elected official would still be an elected official until we took action on the new language.
Do you want to clarify? Well, I think, they would, the way it reads, and it's section 6 of the legislation that,
I've had this legislation for about 5 minutes, so I'm.
Yep, the person that's elected shall serve as the city treasurer, perform the duties thereof for the remainder of the term, or until sooner vacating. After the expiration of the remainder of the term, appointments shall be made pursuant to Section 5, which is by the city council. So, my opinion would be, and I'll let Representative Vega weigh in, but the person that fills out this term is still an elected official.
So we would look upon them as an elected official.
I would think so.
Okay. And by no means in this language, if it's approved by the voters, saying that they are in favor of a chief financial officer to oversee these offices.
Oh, no, this is solely in regards to the
because I am dead set against that.
Yeah, in fairness, Councilor McGivern, we haven't done anything with CFO yet. That has nothing to do with this at all whatsoever. Okay. And that will have to come to you as an independent issue, and the mayor's aware of that. And he hasn't filed any request yet. That's his vision, but that he hasn't done anything to put that into law. I think they're looking to see what's going to happen with this first, because there's a whole domino effect if this were to pass with the public. Then we'd have to have those other conversations.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
Councilor Leahy had his hand up.
My question in regards to this, so say if this passes and whatnot, and we do get to put both departments together, what would then in turn happen to the elected position and our appointed position? So we have our appointed position is Guzman, then we have the elected position. What happened to these? It would become like duplication of services.
Sure. Let's just remember now, we're going to have that debate down the road, too. We have nothing in this combines the two jobs. This is strictly an introductory step to allowing us to even have that conversation, which is, should we have an elected or appointed treasurer? That's strictly what this question from the public will solve.
No, so my question, though, is to Councilor Vega. Is this something that did you guys think of that? Did you guys know that we're going to be trying to put these two departments together?
So let me just say two quick things. As was mentioned, this is just the ballot questions. As we remember 4 years ago, the charter change failed. This body, when I was still on it, we talked about putting out pieces of those ideas for your mayor, changing the size of the council, to the public to have them vote. You could be against it, and you'll probably campaign against it or for it when you're out there convincing your supporters to be for or against those ballot questions. And one thing is why the language was changed by House Counsel was this exact concern that if we put this ballot question on the ballot this November, given the fact that we didn't have a treasurer in place and it was voted down, then what? That was the concern. That was one of the concerns. So to your question specifically, is it known? No, just that was in the DOR report. There is orders filed that are in Charter and Rules Committee. So many municipalities are looking at it, and it is sort of as Councilor, and I apologize for opening up a can of worms, but as President Jourdain said, it is a first step if a municipality wanted to do that. This would be the first step, if you wanted to or not. So as you have...
It's a long process.
It's a long process, but you already have appointment of the auditor, the collector, and the assessors. This would put more purview into your appointment if you had appointment of the collector, of the treasurer, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Councilor Lisi.
I just wanted to state that there are orders filed for the CFO position, and I think that Councilor Vega got it right. They're sitting in Charter and Rules.
Okay.
So we could always take that up.
We know that.
Okay. All right. Very good. Does everybody have the information that they need to make a decision? Okay. So a motion would be in order, presumably to adopt.
Motion to adopt 68 and 69.
Well, we'll do 69 separately, unless we want to take. Well, let's not take them as a package. We can do separate. Is there a second to motion to adopt 68? Okay. Without further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting item number 68 and making the changes. A no vote is to deny.
Leahy?
I'm first, huh? All right. Let's go over this one more time, Irma. Or Kevin.
Yes.
Can you just say that, what you said?
A yes vote is to allow us to have the election for the special election. Well, that's not going to actually occur either way. But to actually have the ballot question to allow the public to vote in favor or against an appointed or elected treasurer.
Okay, yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Soto? Yes. Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Valentin?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Chatnoff?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. So that takes care of item number 68. Which brings us to item number 69. And let me read that to you. Item number 69 is introduced by Councilor Jourdain. Ordered that the mayor and city council petition the general court to enact legislation to amend the charter and increase the term of the school committee members elected by the wards from 2 years to 4 years. This change would not take effect until the date of the next regular city election following passage by the voters at the November 2015 municipal election. So, a motion to adopt would be in order.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
And just as a brief description of this one, let's just put it this way. For whatever reason, this was under the opinion that it was, when we voted to have the city council on the ballot for 4 or non-4, as you know, the at-large school committee already is 4 years. This would also give the public the right to vote for the ward school committee 4 or 2 years. And so this apparently slipped through the cracks, as was described earlier, and so this is now before you with that package to do the same thing. So theoretically, the public could vote or not vote for a 4-year government one way or the other, and it gives them the option. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. So I just received a text earlier. Moving forward, is the school department still getting paid, or the school committee members still getting paid what they were? How does that work?
Good question. My understanding is there's been no law change. We'd have to research it, but I am getting those type of questions too. But at the moment, yes, they continue to be paid.
Okay, so
But that's independent, as you know, of this.
this would be going from $10,000 to $20,000 per person.
No, has nothing to do with the salary at all.
Okay.
Doesn't change their salary in any way. What this says
But
is
for 2 years to 4 years.
correct. That's it. Yeah, that if the public says yes, they would be allowed to have a school committee for a 4-year term.
Okay.
Yep, that's all this. That's all this would do. Councilor Vega. Representative Vega.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just two quick things on it, too. In our discussion, it was first brought up the idea of if we can amend one of the current ballot questions already that's passing through the legislature, which we could not do, because if the Senate amended it, it had to come back to the House and go through the whole process again.
So this was determined to be easier.
Easier would have to be a separate question. Additionally, it was also concerned that it's two separate paragraphs in our ordinances that govern the school committee and the city council, so it should be two separate questions regarding their terms. The only other thing I will say, if the voters approve this, we'll have to have this conversation next year, because even though the at-larges are 4-year terms, they're staggered. So currently what would happen is if this was passed, you would have one election with one candidate on it as at-large position. So we'll have to adjust that. So either we just extend his or hers. At this point, it's school committee member Devin Sheehan, who's not up this year. He'll be up in 2 more years. But if we change it, there's some little bit of a ramification we'll have to fix before 2017 election.
Councilor Soto.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to know where we're at and how many, on the ballot, how many questions are we at already?
Now that's a good question.
4.
This would be 5.
This would be 5.
Plus the non-binding ones.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Non-binding ones are never eliminated.
Councilor Graney.
Well, once again, this vote does not reflect how we feel about the 2-year or 4-year term. This is just to put it on the ballot. Once again, I believe 2 years. If the people want to vote somebody out, they should be able to vote somebody out.
Councilor Bacon.
In this regard, I just see this as a completely different issue because we're under receivership, and I don't think this is the time to be extending terms of office. I think we should leave that alone because everything's in such a state of flux, and we are guaranteeing people, and we've had a history of people who barely showed up at any meetings and collected a paycheck for 2 years, and I'm not warm to setting up that kind of a system for 4. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
I'm a firm believer, I'm not a fond believer of a 4-year term, but I'm a firm believer that this is one of the things that was highly debated and talked about within the Charter Commission's proposal. Unfortunately, I think many people were against the 4-year term and many people were in favor of it. And it would be nice to be able to get the voters to weigh in on this as the mayor and the city council is going forward. I'm afraid that there is not enough time to get this into a ballot question form for the November election. Even with, and I know Representative Vega would do his best, and I don't doubt our state delegation would do their best. So it's very possible that the legislature could pass this without putting it on the ballot, and I think that might be a shame because there's another issue with the at-large position themselves too. It would be every 2 years. If the mayor goes to 4 years, the city council goes to 4 years, the treasurer is erased as an elected position. Every 2 years, there's still going to be a municipal election, but there'll only be one position on the ballot. And I don't think we've actually talked that out yet. But I think it's a little bit too late to do this. Otherwise, I'd love to hear from the voters.
Let's just go over a couple things. One is, I don't think the legislature is going to pass this without the public input. So we have to worry about that concern. In terms of this, again, this is, about what does the public want. If the public thinks this is some terrible idea and they're not happy with the school committee and they don't want them to have a 4-year term or whatever, fill in the blank reasons, then they won't vote for it. I think that's the thing that we're saying. And at the end of the day, the legislature will do the best it can to get it on again, this is the November ballot. So there still is significant all of August, all of September, probably some deadline in October or whatever it is to print the ballots. They'll do the best that they can to do it. If they can't, then they can't, and life moves on. So it just seems to me it's an opportunity to hear from the people. That's the only point I would point out. But Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. Just one of the things that was sort of tossed around early on about the advantage of going to a 4-year term is that it'll save all this money on municipal elections, et cetera, et cetera. Unless everything goes to a 4-year term and we get rid of the stagger on the school committee members who are staggered, we haven't saved anything. We're still having the entire infrastructure of municipal election every 2 years. So it does seem to make sense that any position that's currently on a 2-year cycle be up for review by the voters at the same time, so that we can decide whether we want to go to 4-year government as a whole and then eliminate the every 2 years elections. Thanks.
Right. Great. Anybody else? Thoughts? Councilor McGivern?
The elimination of the 2-year election is not before us, and it is still going to be on the books. And if voters come forward and file the correct petition, ballot questions could be placed on the non-elected year of elected officials. And we haven't even addressed what to do with that off year if the 4 years are across the board adopted.
I'd have to defer to the law department on that, but a lot of the thing on citizen initiatives is generally worded as the next municipal election. So generally, I think you'd have to. Well, the point, yeah, right now. But I think if all these went through, and I'll defer to the law department, but I think it would, if all offices were every 4 years, then the next municipal election would be in 4 years. Am I incorrect in that, Kara? Or?
A motion to suspend and let law address that question.
Yeah, I mean, Joe raises a valid point, so let's just address it.
Okay.
I mean,
to let the legal department address the question.
I don't think you said that clearly.
I said let law address the question.
he's saying, about citizen initiatives or ballot questions or non-bindings and things of that nature. Generally, those are worded to be the next municipal election. So the question is, would that be still 2 years, or would that be 4 years, or you haven't had enough time to really think about that through?
So right now, there would still be the election in 2 years, because that would be the next election.
But after that, for example, if the public voted for all these.
If these pass, then they would, in 2017, the person elected would serve for 4 years.
Till 2021.
Right.
So say somebody wanted to put the city council in 2018, decides they want to have a ballot question on what's your favorite color, or the official color of Holyoke or something, right? And would that go on the ballot in 2019 or 2021?
The next municipal election. So if everybody is elected for 4 years, it would be 2021.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
All right. Yes, Councilor Alexander.
So try and do this both ways. So, Kara, just to be clear, there's nothing in the charter that says, like, election shall be held every 2 years independently of the statement of terms for each office that's an elected office?
Our charter is such a patchwork of special acts. The biennial municipal elections are the result of about 6 different special acts, and these are going to be 6 more special acts. So I think our charter, I mean, originally the municipal year was 1 year, and it's been changed all along. So these special acts, I mean, they eliminate anything that's inconsistent.
Okay, so there's nothing that says we shall have a representative government and it shall have elections every 2 years.
There is, but we're essentially changing that.
Because it's specific to each position.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Graney.
Just a quick question for Kara. Is there a vehicle in the city charter that would call for a special election if one of these questions should come up petitioned by the public? It would come through the city council. The city council could vote to put it on the ballot. It would come on the ballot. So we have a vehicle for that.
Councilor Lisi.
I'm going to disagree. So the citizens can petition to put something on the ballot directly. And the city council, which is what we're doing here, can petition to file a special act. So there's 2 avenues. There's 2 vehicles to get things onto the ballot for the next upcoming election. Not in this year, but in most years. There are two different avenues.
Yes. If I could real quick. Councilor
Representative
Lisa is correct. I thought you meant the city council could call a special election.
That's what I meant.
That's what he meant. So if, capital I, bold and underline, if we don't get this done this election, but there's appetite for it, the city council could
Oh, you mean
call a special
for these
election
ballot
next-
questions?
just for a ballot question.
No, what I was talking about was,
Right, 'cause that's what the question was about a special election,
yeah,
not just a ballot question.
okay.
But also for the what's your favorite color election.
Well, right. What Joe raised is that there's still this possibility that you could have, if the city council decided we wanted to have ballot, like we've done a few of them, like on casinos or fill in the blank.
If I could direct to
Yeah,
Joe's
sure.
question, there's not much appetite at all at the State House to just change charters or people's election abilities without the vote of the people. So very unlikely that if you were to pass it, but we didn't get it done in time, that we would pass it on its own merit. Very, very, very unlikely. And I think because the sentiment to your comments, though, is that we shouldn't just be changing people's democratic rights to save money. So if people want to change their election rights, they should vote on those rights.
Absolutely.
So
Right. Yeah.
the impetus shouldn't be just to save money. So that we would not pass it on its own merit if, and I don't even know this, but if you had a non-binding ballot question on there and it was overwhelmingly supported, perhaps that could be used as a vehicle to pass it through the legislature, but I even doubt that.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to put local ballot questions on state or federal elections. So
Right.
2016, with the presidential election, almost impossible to get a municipal ballot question on there.
Right. So yeah, we either do this now in 2015 or this is off the table until 2017, which means it couldn't take effect till 2019. So, and then it does actually, maybe it's actually off to 2021 because if the public votes yes on mayor and council, they may not have an opportunity to vote on a change that would take effect until that 4-year term goes by. So we're kind of in a window here at this point to do this, to hear from the public now or never. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Motion on the floor is to adopt. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting item number 69 and putting the school committee for a 4-year term question on the ballot. A no vote is to deny that. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
No.
Soto, Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
No.
Valentin,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Chatnoff,
Yes.
Graney,
No.
Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay. By your vote, you've approved item number 69. Thank you, Representative Vega.
Very much. I apologize to the public comment people for dragging this out, but that's government in action. Have a wonderful night, and I'm sure I'll be getting this from you tomorrow. Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, continuing with public comment, our next speaker is Mary Hurley of 72 Lower Westfield Road. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. President and council members. I am here, I believe it's item 21, which is petition by Dennis Croto of its property 79 and 83 Lower Westfield Road. He is petitioning to have it zoned business general. It is currently 79 Lower Westfield Road is zoned business limited. I don't know what his plans are. This is premature, I'm sure, but I live directly across the street. Mr. Croto has been a wonderful neighbor in the past. He had a wonderful business. My concerns are that if this is zoned business general, the 79 Lower Westfield Road property and the adjoining, which is currently residential. Two things. The 83 Lower Westfield Road is abutting Tannery Brook, which is, I believe, somewhat protected by the wetlands. Number two, back in, I believe it was 1988 or 89, when Mr. Croto did have this approved as business general, the council members back then were concerned by voting business general that this would open up a slew of, there's no holds barred, anything can move in there. As a residential neighborhood directly across the street, I know this will be referred to committee. If it does come back for a vote, I please ask for your vote to vote no. I don't know what Mr. Crota's plans are, but seeing the neighborhood that it is, it's directly by the Holyoke Mall down the street. I cannot express enough with where I live, directly across the street from the now sheriff's facility. I believe that enough is enough. I please ask for your vote if and when it comes to that, to please consider residential neighborhoods and families. And I thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would anticipate that petition will get forwarded to committee this evening, and it is a requirement that all the abutters be notified. So you will have an opportunity to be aware of the hearing in the future, just so you know that, Mary. The next speaker up, if the council gives leave, comes to us by way of Chicopee, Mass., 34 Bixton Street, Ada de Jesus. Motion to suspend the rules is on the floor to allow Mr. Jesus to address the city council. All in favor? Opposed, so moved. Mr. Jesus, welcome. Would you like to address the city council? You signed up for public comment? Okay, welcome. Just give us your name and address, please. Yeah, you might want to, it's a little tall. We'll have to lower that. Okay. Just do your best to speak into the microphone, because...
The address, once again, please.
Just give us your residential address, please, again. Britton Street.
Sorry. She's a large property owner in Hoyokville. A lot of property.
Oh, great. Okay, floor is yours, Ada.
Okay. Thank you. I did have a special request on a property that I've been interested in I have an interest for 2 years now, but I didn't see it on your list of properties going out to an auction. So I don't think that may do me any good to bring it up unless it was on the list. Am I correct?
You can mention it anyways. If it's another, is there some reason that it's not on the? Are we taking a vote this evening on some auction?
I think there's a late file communication. There's something on our desk.
Okay. Let me see.
What's the address? 443 Main Street.
Mr. Jesus, you can speak to any topic you'd like. It doesn't have to be on the agenda. You can speak to anything you'd like. It doesn't have to be here.
Yeah, right.
What you got early?
It doesn't appear to be listed at that address on it. Well, you're welcome to give us your thoughts on that property if you want, but I don't see anything in on it.
Hi, yes.
Okay.
The interest for this property has been now for 2 years. I've been trying.
Yeah, really speak into it, because I'm sorry, the acoustics here are not so great. Oh, perfect.
Sorry, I'm not used to this. I have an interest on this property in 427 Main Street now. Actually, I'm sorry, 443 Main Street now for 2 years. And I have sent out, or actually deliver a couple of letters of interest to the mayor, to the mayor's office, the treasurer's department, and so forth. But I guess that I am here tonight because, to my understanding, if not now, in the future, this property is going to be auctioned out. And I was just wondering if I can request the opportunity to purchase this property directly from the city. I do have a property right next to this one as well. I'm the abutters to this property that I just mentioned. And I'm just actually just requesting that opportunity. I have not heard back from anyone, any of the departments that I just mentioned. and I have not heard as to my acknowledgement or any acknowledgement to my interest for this property neither. So I'm just kind of wondering.
I'd be happy to call the mayor's office tomorrow and ask that and I would be happy to speak to their office to return your phone call and to make sure that they get in touch with you. You've left your information with them?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And 2 letters of
happy to do
interest.
that. Sure.
Thank you.
And hopefully that'll help get a conversation going.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. And then we have Mr. Bosco, Stephen Bosco. Stephen, give us your residential address as well, unless 430 Appleton Street is your residential address.
No, 430 Appleton Street is the location of my business here in Holyoke. My residential address is 66 Arlington Street, Medford, Massachusetts.
Okay. Is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow Mr. Bosco to address the City Council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Mr.
Okay,
Bosco,
thank you.
floor is yours.
There are 2 items on your agenda tonight. Both relate to my potential purchase of vacant lots of land, both of which abut properties that I own, buildings that I own. One's a building, one's a house. I wanted to thank Councillor Valentine and Councillor Bartley for making sure that this made it onto the agenda tonight. And if there's any questions when this is being considered, I'll be here to address them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. That gets us through the public comment section of our meeting. And now that brings us to item number 2. As sobering as that sounds, I think we'll pick up steam here. Okay, here we go. Item number 2. Dear councilors, subject to your approval and in accordance with Chapter 18, Article 3, Sections 18-95, I hereby appoint the following individual to the Fairfield Avenue Historic District Commission effective June 29th, 2015. Mr. Marco Crescentini.
Motion goes to public service.
66 Fairfield Avenue, Holyoke. Mr. Crescentini will serve a 3-year term whose term will expire July 1st, 2018. Honorably, the mayor. Okay, motion on the floor is that this be received and referred to the Public Service Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 3. Item number 3 is communication from the mayor. Subject to your approval, I hereby reappoint the following individual to serve as a member of the Board of Appeals of the City of Holyoke, Mr. Albert Bowler of 26 Claren Drive. Mr. Bowler will serve a 3-year term. Said term will expire July 1st.
Make a motion to confirm the reappointment.
Second.
Reappointment.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive the appointment and to confirm this appointee. That has been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the confirmation?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Mr. Bowler is confirmed. Item number 4 is a communication jointly from Irma Lopez, who's the Assistant City Clerk, as well as from Ryan Allen, our Administrative Assistant. It is the minutes of the regular City Council meeting from June 16th, the special City Council meeting of June 24th, as well as the special meeting of July 14th.
Motion to receive.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive and approve of these minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 5 is a communication from Mr. Schmidt, our acting city auditor. It's his thoughts on the budget reviews.
Make a motion to receive it and approve.
Just receive, perhaps?
Receive, yeah.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 6 is a communication from Mr. Schmidt, our acting city auditor. These are the monthly budget reports for the general fund and the wastewater treatment plant as of May 31st.
Make a motion to receive and send to finance.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 7 is a communication from Mr. Schmidt, our acting city auditor, and it's a letter regarding the Gandara lease update.
Make a motion to receive and send to public service.
Mr. President, Can you read
Or
that
finance,
letter?
maybe?
Finance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you please read that letter
Yes,
into
it's
the
a mere
record
2 paragraphs long. I think this is worthy of reading.
and refer it to finance, please?
Okay. Motion on the floor is that it be received and referred to finance. Under discussion, I will read it. You asked for an update on the Gandara lease. The last lease payment the city received was on April the 4th, 2014.
Wow.
Gandara is therefore in default on its lease obligations. Accordingly, the solicitor's office has sent them a notice to pay several times. If Gandara continues to ignore these notices and maintains its default on its payment obligations, the solicitor's office is prepared to send them a notice to quit, which is the first step in the eviction process. Of course, begs the question, they've seemingly told us they're not going to pay after not paying for 14 or 15 months. Councilor Bartley, I recognize you. I see your hand up.
Honorable Council President, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for the finger point, too. How you doing?
Just want to make sure I don't get the wrong guy.
You're a good man. You're a good man, sir. I did receive that memo. I was a little surprised that it was delinquent that long, but I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I will say this. The law department has indeed served a notice to quit to the tenant. I communicated my opinion that they should do it right away, and I guess they agreed because they did serve a notice to quit, and that's the first step in an eviction, and so kudos to the law department for tackling that, and we'll see how it rolls from there.
Good news is it is a corporation. It would appear is going to be around for a while, so we have someone to seek compensation for. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, I just want to go on record once again because I followed orders of going against this since day one. I didn't think having youth jail in that neighborhood was a good fit. And then I would get all this flack from the Geriatric Authority Board. And, I didn't care. They gave me flack. And they said, well, you haven't taken a tour of it. I'm like, all right, I'll go take a tour of it. And I took a tour of the little jail. And they had some ladies taking notes every time I said something, questioned something. She'd write it down, and she was the secretary. She'd bring it back to the board, and now the chairperson of the board wasn't talking to me any longer, which I didn't care about. And I said it was a bad deal then, and guess what? It turned out to be a bad deal now. I think it's awful. I mean, I met this guy Tom, who, in my opinion, who the guy running the place was a bum, and turns out I still think he is. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman McGivern.
I'll say most of my comments for the committee meeting, but I would ask that we also have a clarification prepared for us on the utilities and other expenses of what Gandara is creating. My understanding is at one time I thought there was an escrow account for the monthly rent that was due, but my understanding is that there's only 1 meter for gas and 1 meter for electric. And I'm not too sure about water and how sewer is working, but I just wonder if Sheriff Ash knows that he's footing the bill for 2 buildings.
We're told that, Joe.
I saw somebody's hand up. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. The reason I filed this order is because we were assured that this was nothing but a good deal for the city, that they were improving the property, and that there would be no harm to the residents or the taxpayers. I consider 14 months in default harm to the residents and the taxpayers. And I was opposed to this lease. It was bad process. It was done in the back room. It wasn't brought to the day of light until we pushed it. And bad process almost always leads to a bad outcome. And this is a perfect example of that, unfortunately. And I would like to know what paths we have to make sure we do recoup that money that has not been paid. Thank you.
And if we do have a meeting, if it's possible, maybe the law department and their attorneys or whomever can prepare some common understanding of the facts, because unless they have a really good reason why they haven't been paying, we'd have a good, so maybe that meeting can be really meaningful, because we know they owe us the money. The question is, why haven't they been paying? It's an open, ongoing business. I'll be interested to hear. I have some notion, I think, of some of the arguments they're going to make, but we'll see. Councilor Lisi.
I think it's especially interesting that we had a provision in the lease that said we were going to get paid directly, in addition to the Geriatric Authority getting paid part of their rental fees. So I find it to be very interesting that we're not getting even our share that was the direct payment.
Correct, exactly. Actually, the whole thing was going to go to us because we were going to pay it towards their arrears that the Geriatric Authority owed us. Councilor Graney.
Is there any way we can expedite the process to get this moving?
Well, yeah, they've filed a notice to quit to throw them out, and now we're going to have a finance meeting to have information as to, they're going to talk, and presumably when someone, you have to wait at least, 30 days on the notice to quit. So after the conclusion of that, presumably if it's not resolved, we make some sort of demand for the money. They have a right to cure, perhaps, and pay us all the money. If they don't, then we can file a complaint and ask that they be evicted. And presumably they'll file an answer.
In the meantime, they can still use the property.
Yeah, only through a court
order. That's
order.
absurd. That's absurd.
Well, only a judge can actually evict someone. You can't just, close the doors. Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. Can't we file suit for recovery independently of the action to evict?
But no, as part of our complaint, we will, I'm sure, make a claim for damages.
I'm sure,
for
but
the
we
back
could have done
rent.
that 6 months ago, too.
Could have done it 13 months ago.
But I mean,
the
without
point
a
is,
notice
this
to
is
quit.
when they're doing it. Yeah.
I don't see why we're waiting on the action for recovery.
Well, you make it as part of the complaint with the eviction, the demand for the non-paid rent. It's usually in one action. Then you seek an order for possession of the property. Councilor Soto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is a need for more transparency. That's it. We need to have more transparency in this city. This is what happens.
Councilor McGivern.
It's not the city council that enters into these agreements, although we're asked to approve it. And I was at the meeting, and a lot of tough questions were asked, and a lot of things were said, and a lot of promises were made. I just hope we can get to resolve this issue a lot quicker than I'm still waiting for an answer on the Mass Department of Transportation paying rent to a tenant in 1 Cabot Street when the city owns 1 Cabot Street.
Okay, very good. So motion on the floor is to receive this and send it over to the Finance Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 8. Item number 8 is a communication from Jeff Burkott from Office of Planning and Development. It's regarding the site plan review for the Holyoke Medical Center, 575 Beach Street.
Can you do a brief reading into the record?
Yeah. Basically, the hospital has filed a request for site plan review for a new ER that they would like to build. This ER will be approximately 41,000 square feet. It's going to be on the west side of the hospital building, so if you're looking at the main entrance, it's going to be right in the parking lot to the left of the main entrance. To mitigate the impacted parking, which they're going to lose approximately 86 spaces by building this, they're looking to utilize, quote-unquote, previously permitted parking lots off of Isabella Street. And I added the quotation marks to that because I'd like to opine on that in a minute. The Planning Board would appreciate your review of this site plan as applicable and ask that you forward any comments you may have to planning by Monday, August 11th, prior to their scheduled meeting on August 25th to allow the applicant time to respond to your concerns. And failure to respond will indicate acceptance of the site plan as proposed. Well, I don't know about that, but that is the letter. If
Is this going to committee?
No, I think we could send it to, what do you recommend? You want to send it to ordinance?
I would like to send it to committee. I'd also like to see if we could have legal do some research to find out what are they referencing in terms of previously approved permitted.
I can shed some light. Motion to allow the council president to address the council on this issue. All in favor?
Briefly.
Briefly, yeah, as best as I can. Well, I'm going to give you the brief timeline on this. Back in early 2009, the city council voted to allow a special permit to allow the hospital to build a 4-story building. They were allowed to build a 2-story building independent of the hospital in their rear parking lot. It was supposed to house a kidney dialysis center, among other things. With that, they didn't come to us, but in that they listed the fact that they were going to need more parking. And they put the one that's at the end of Isabella Street behind Pinehurst Road as one of the spots, and they put another one down near Courser Street that wraps around 2 houses, and you see them building it as we speak. So anyways, this proposal got an affirmative vote of the city council. It was 14-0. Jack Willahan had already passed away at this time, so the full membership was at the time voted to allow them to go from 2 stories to 4. Okay, put that on the shelf. They don't do anything with it for 2 years. 2011, they go to the planning board and they say, we want site plan review to build this building and to put these 2 parking lots in. That was ultimately approved by the planning board. Problem is, hospital then pulled the plug on building the building. They decided not to build it, and it's obviously not there. So they're now calling the parking changes that went to a building that they never built as their quote-unquote permission to now put these 2 parking lots in on Isabella Street, which is kind of, to me, is not correct. To say the least, and I've expressed that to them, that when that site plan review went in and those parking lots were approved, that was because of that 4-story building that was to be put in the back lot. Now, flash ahead, all of a sudden, nobody hears anything, nothing goes on, in come all the wreckers, and in come all the tree companies, and they tear all this area down behind Pinehurst Road at the end of Isabella and start building a parking lot. All the neighbors start saying, what the hell's going on, right? So here's where the hospital starts to do a little better. I talked to the president of the hospital saying, what the heck's going on here? You know, well, blah, 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 blah. They're saying, well, we got permission to do this back in 2011, citing what I just told you, okay? Then, you know, they kind of say, well, yeah, we didn't, you know, maybe not quite right. This isn't really the way we should have handled this. You know, then all of a sudden we start hearing about we wanted to build a new ER and yada, yada, yada. Well, they're building these 2 parking lots. And, you know, but I had a public meeting with the neighbors over there for the area that was impacted. And I give the hospital credit for leafleting everybody there. And the residents were allowed to come in. And it's like, well, you already tore down the whole thing. You've already leveled the whole area. So now it's like, you know, one of these situations where it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission at this point. So they're going to be putting in these parking lots there. And they're now citing this now as part of their ER project, which is just now being submitted, that you're hearing about this for the first time. So that's the latest with that. And to their credit, they're saying, you know, we're not going to have the lighting, and they are listening to the neighbors on the fencing, the lighting, all the things that are going to come with it. It appears most neighbors not really happy about it, but there's a level of comfortability, as best as way I can describe it, to say this is not the way it should have happened, but, you know, what can we do now? So that's where we're at, and this is now going to planning for this ER. The other interesting question, which is why I filed, you'll see later on this evening, is there's an exclusion for hospitals to basically carte blanche do anything with parking and ancillary buildings. And after speaking to the law department and the building commissioner, we're going to have a conversation about that and to draft ordinances that there should be some checks in this process. That, you know, for example, you wanted to have parking at the YMCA, right? You had to come in for a special permit. Hospitals right now currently exempt from all of that. They can purchase and pave anything that they want. And I don't think that's what we intend to do here. So there should be public input and ways to protect neighbors in this process. So we're going to have that conversation at a later date. But that's the latest on this. And the other concern is there's a lot of other buildings on Courser Street and otherwise that they're looking into making more parking. And it's just, as the hospital's growing, they're looking to just keep marshaling out to more and more parking because they said we can't afford parking garages. So that's the latest on that issue.
On the motion to send to committee.
On the motion to send to, what do you want, an ordinance or? Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to refer this communication to the ordinance committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye opposed? So moved. Item number 9 is a communication from Dave Conti It's regarding an information meeting to meet with city councilors. The Board of Water Commissioners would like to come in to see us to discuss several financial matters relative to the department, its operations, regarding projected capital, water consumption, and water rates.
Make a motion to receive this into finance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to finance, and the chairman can get with them to set time for them to come in. Always good to see them. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Items 10 through 18 as a package, please.
Second. We all have copies.
Okay, motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to allow to take items 10 through 18 as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 10 is the Board of Health minutes of May 21st. Item number 11 is the minutes of HEDIC for their March 12th meeting. Item number 12 is the minutes of the HRA, that's the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority, for April 15th. Item number 13 is the Fire Commission minutes of May 11th. Item number 14 is the DPW minutes of June 1st and June 15th. Item number 15 is the Sewer Commission minutes of June 1st and June 15th. Item number 16 is the Stormwater Authority minutes of June 1st and June 15th. Item number 17 is the Historic Commission minutes of February 16th, March 9th, May 11th, June 8th. And item number 18 is the Fairfield Avenue Historic District Commission minutes of January 14th, February 11th, March 11th, April 8th, and May 13th.
Be received.
Okay, motion on the floor is that all of them be received as a package. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. We're off to item number 19. Item number 19 is a communication from Melvin Colon of Springfield. It's a letter appealing the decision of the chief of police to deny his taxi cab license in the city of Holyoke. And just to remind councilors, that's handled by the Finance Committee. Those appeals. So motion on the floor has been made and seconded to receive Mr. Colon's appeal to the City Council and refer it to the Finance Committee for a hearing. Any discussion? Councilor Leahy.
Can we override the chief's decision?
Yes, and we have in the past.
So how many votes does that take? Is it just a majority?
Majority.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? All in favor of referring to Finance?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 20. Item number 20 is a nice card that we received from the McGee family, thanking us for the floral arrangement that was sent on the birth of their daughter Molly. And it says, Dear President Jourdain and members of the City Council, thank you all so much for the beautiful flower arrangement for the birth of our daughter Molly. We are all doing very well and are loving the new addition to our family. Miles is certainly loving being a big brother and is very proud. We thank you and we thank you all again for thinking of us during this special time. Todd, Brenna, Miles, and Molly McGee. Very nice.
Be received.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that item number 20 be received. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 21 is a petition from Mr. Dennis Croto of 78 and 83 Lower Westfield Road. He's looking to have a zone change of his property from BL to BG or IG. Receive, refer to ordinance. Okay, that's the motion on the floor, recognizing Councilor McGivern.
It's a technical question, but how can we have a hearing on one or the other zones that he's choosing in the petition? I believe it has to be specific to one zone change, not two. I could be wrong, but
I don't, sir, know the answer to that question. I think the law department will have to research that. Can they figure that out before we have a hearing on it, and all of that in ordinance, or?
I mean, if you want to table it until we get, can we even receive the petition if it hasn't been filed properly?
All right.
We don't know that it's not been filed properly. That's the only thing.
Send it to ordinance, she said.
The recommendation from the law department is just be referred to ordinance.
the only issue with that is that starts the clock rolling.
Right.
with a
I don't
public
think
hearing.
so. I think that's at the clock rolls after the closing of the public hearing, isn't it?
Nope.
No, we have so
It's-
many
we have
days
60
to have
days.
the public hearing.
2 clocks.
60 days.
Huh? Oh, they're saying she's saying that since it's already been filed with the clerk, that already started the clock.
Sure, send it to ordinance.
I don't think so.
I mean, it could be that we contact the petitioner and straighten out what they want to have on the legal notice, and they have to pick one, and that might resolve the problem. But I think we could send it to ordinance and ask Kara for some legal advice for how we move forward from there.
Okay. All right. So motion on the floor is receive and refer to ordinance.
Copy to legal.
Copy to legal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number
We take
20.
up 22, 24, 25 as a package.
Second.
Okay, motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to take up items 22, 24, and 25 as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Question for the chair.
Yes, sir.
What is non-conforming use?
Non-conforming use means that when the zoning ordinance was created back approximately in the early 70s, that it was allowed then, but afterwards became non-conforming, but they're permitted to have it for them since they were doing that use prior to the zoning laws being created.
Yeah, but what is non-conforming use?
That's the way
Can
that would be my interpretation of non-conforming use. Councilor Lisi.
So it would be, for example, like right now, only auto repair sales are allowed in the BH Business Highway Zone. But if we created a district, like maybe a residential district, where there already was a auto repair shop in the 70s, we exempted them, we grandfathered them into that non-conforming use, and they can retain that use until they sell the property, and then somebody else can apply for non-conforming use.
If I may, I don't think somebody else can apply for a non-conforming use. I think the non-conforming use can persist as long as that permit is in effect. When that permit dies, when ownership changes, whatever, they have to file for a new permit. The new permit has to be for a conforming use. I don't think we can grant one for a non-conforming use at that point.
I haven't researched it, so I'm not going to give my opinion on it. So I'd be happy to research. I'm sure the law department would be.
Refer to ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, all of this would appear, I would believe, is going to ordinance anyways, right? Okay. So,
No, actually,
Make a motion to refer to committee on ordinance.
Second.
Yep.
22, 24, and 25 are all going to development and government
Oh,
relations.
DG&R's handling those?
Motion on the floor has been made and seconded to ordinance, Mr. President.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to send the 3 to ordinance. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, these are special permits that involve especially the non-conforming use zoning issues. At the last DGR meeting, we had a very good meeting, a very good public hearing on a special permit for motor vehicle uses and for used car sales. It was difficult for us. We were grateful at the last minute the planning director did show up to answer some of our questions. And specifically, if we listen to what Councilor Gordon just said, non-conforming is always confusing. And it's unfair to think that we can have an attorney from the law department present at DGR for a zoning issue when the attorney is required to be at the ordinance committee meeting every 2 weeks. When we changed the rules to try to get some, and I have no problem taking on the workload and helping out the ordinance committee, the idea was not to have attorneys from the law department and staff from the planning department to address some very sensitive issues. And I think these particular ones are going to create a lot of questions. And if, unless we're going to be asking for department heads and attorneys to come to both nights, I don't think it's fair to the people who we require to answer our questions.
Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that they have always been tough for ordinance as well, despite the support that we've had from staff in the planning department and also from legal. There are going to be tough issues to deal with in any committee. Additionally, none of these special permits require ordinance changes, which is why we specifically carved them out to go over to development and government relations, because they have traditionally dealt with zoning issues in the form of redevelopment and vacant properties. And so there is a familiarity there. We changed the name, but they're still doing very similar business. I think you all know that the Ordinance Committee is the busiest and most detail-oriented committee. I appreciate the comments that Councilor McGivern made regarding the need for technical support when we take up these items, but I do think that is what our department heads are available for, and I think they should be called in as needed for these issues.
Councilor Bartley, not to put you on the spot, do you have an opinion on this issue? It seems to affect potentially your committee. What do you think?
Well, it would. I mean, I'm on both committees, so I guess to me, I certainly heard what Joe was saying, and I'm not going to disagree with it. And I think Joe reiterated that we're all for carrying the burden. You know, we did pass the rule, but when we did have the hearing the other night, without Marcos, and I got Marcos to come in at the last second, it would have been a little dicier. And so I think in this case, I think I'd feel a little more comfortable having these go to ordinance until we set up the parameters with how it's going to work, to either have somebody from the law department, maybe an assistant to Kara, maybe Paul or somebody else come in to sit with us on a regular basis. And again, that committee, there's only two committees that meet on a regular basis, right? It's just this one and ordinance. So I think when we had the rule change, Mr. President, I'm not sure if we really thought it out as in greater detail. However, I don't want to. I'm just one vote. I've got to be on either committee.
We value your opinion. I just want to recognize Councilor Alexander had his hand up.
Thanks. As someone who was kind of, part and parcel of that rule change, and I do, although I've missed a few meetings, Dave, I apologize. I do sit on both committees. We tried to sort of split it down the middle of things that required a review of the ordinance because of a potential change to the ordinance would go to the ordinance committee. Things that are about interpretation of existing law with no intention to change the existing law would go to D&GR. And that's why zone changes and things like that. And also, frankly, a zone change is a development issue. We can't talk about a petition to, change something from BL to BG without considering the development implications of that. So that seemed to me to be a rational place to put it. I do recognize that that D&GR, in picking up things like that, is going to need professional assistance from department heads. I think most committees probably need that on maybe a more regular basis than we actually get it, but ordinance has the benefit of it's sort of a standardized thing. There's always somebody from legal there for ordinance, and it may well be that we need that for D&GR as well, or perhaps for every other meeting, and we group the items that require that kind of support into every other meeting. But I do think the appropriate place for these particular orders is D&GR. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lisi.
And I just want to say that the only reason why we have support from the planning department on the nights that we have traditionally dealt with these items in ordinance committees because I specifically request them to come in. There's nothing that magically triggers them coming in. It's me going, Ryan, I need you to contact these department heads and bring them in because we need their technical support to deal with this issue. So I think that it's really just a matter of the committee chair to reach out to Ryan and say, I need these guys here. I need this type of support staff here.
Okay. Well,
motion to reconsider.
Well, motion on the floor. Motion on the floor right now is to send to ordinance, and we'll take
an amendment.
Right. Yeah, right. Okay. Got it. We'll take a vote on that, and if that doesn't pass, then we'll take another vote on something else. Councilor McGivern.
The point, and I think everybody understood it, is it's not that we don't want to take on and help out with the burden or that we're not capable, but we do need that technical support. Attorney Cunha is going to be with us this evening, probably the 4 hours, 5 hours that we're here. She'll be with the Ordinance Committee next week or whatever week, any Tuesday that the Ordinance Committee has a meeting from 3 to 4 hours. Now, if she has to start coming to DGR for 2 to 3 hours, that's a full day's work. And I mean, regardless of what the compensation is, that's unfair to her, that's unfair to the law department. The planning department, for some reason, is showing some reluctance to understanding that we need them as technical support. They for some reason they look at some of the orders that are filed and they email their recommendations and don't want to come in to answer questions. And I'm not too sure what's, and I'm not being critical, but I'm trying to be more constructive in terms of getting the help we need to make the right decision. This is a timing thing. It's just not fair to ask one lawyer to spend in the evenings a full day and then work 5 days a week, which our ordinances now say.
Councilor Bacon.
I would just make a point of order that we need to change our rules if we want to change it back, because we had discussion and debate about where these things belonged in the first place. And I'm hearing all the concerns, and I think they're legitimate, but we would then need to change the rules and
Just a point of
reconfigure the
clarification.
committees
Despite
once again.
rules, we can vote by majority to send something to any committee, with the exception of the ordinances that have to go ordinance by charter and the financial appropriations that have to go to finance. We can pick and choose as we go for everything else.
If we suspend the rules. If the rules say something goes to X, we can suspend the rules and send it to Y. There's no question about that. So the current rule is that it goes to DGNR. That's the current rule. We certainly can not do that and suspend the rules to do it otherwise, but that would be the current rule. So, did I hear an amendment?
You did, which is to send them to the DGNR committee.
Second.
Okay, and that was seconded. Okay. Any other thoughts before we vote? Okay.
And don't forget, this is voting on as a package on 22, 24, and 25.
Which we've already suspended the rules to take those as a package, so it's going to be all three of these items. Okay, here we go. All in favor of sending these package of three to the DGNR committee?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Sorry, Kara.
Okay. Which now brings us back to item 23. Item number 23 is a petition from Madeline Pagan of 161 Beach Street for a new special permit for a home occupation for a scented candle business.
Receive, send to ordinance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, receive and referred to the ordinance committee. Any discussion? Here.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor Alexander.
I'm just, point of clarification, do we have a process for a special permit for home occupation? Or is this a use by right?
It's public service. Public service, isn't it?
It's public service.
Yeah, it's a home occupation permit. That's a good catch. This should be
Service.
This should be public service. They vote on they handle the home occupations.
Right.
Yeah.
Your motion to send it to public service?
Motion is amended to send it to public service. Is that seconded?
Second.
Second. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of referring to public service?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Just getting my agenda up to snuff here. Okay. Brings us to item number 26. Item number 26, a motion of Sprint and T-Mobile for a new wireless telecommunication facility or material modification and/or for a floodplain overlay district at 200 Northampton Road.
Make a motion to accept and set up a public meeting. Special permit, rather.
Special permit, does that go to, we're doing that ordinance, right?
Ordinance.
DGNR,
DGNR.
excuse me. Okay. Motion on the floor, Council Leahy, is to send to DGNR?
Sir.
Okay, is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of referring item number 26 to DGNR?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. President's report. Certainly don't want to be without that. Welcome back.
Motion to be without that?
I'll try and make it quick so you don't regret that decision. Good to see everybody back. Always nice to see all your smiling faces again. I do want to just say that I was contacted by Councilor Bresnahan, who said he was away on a vacation with his family. Unfortunately, he was not able to be here this evening. Just a couple things, announcements, just wanted to go over with you. One is that this coming Saturday, the 8th, at 9 o'clock, will be a coffee and sort of social over at the Senior Center, with the ceremony to begin at 10 is for the dedication of the Purple Heart Trail. And as you know, the City Council, we bought a sign to include in this ceremony on your behalf, paid out of the Flower Fund. So I certainly encourage you, if you're around on Saturday, over at the Senior Center, should be a nice event, beginning at 9 and then with the actual dedication at 10. Just want to pass along, too, we have the senior citizen sort of appreciation event that's going to be taking place on the 20th over at the Pope John Paul Center. Hopefully encourage you all to attend. And I know they're looking for each of the counselors, if you have it in your heart, to give door prizes. They love it. I know the seniors do, and I will certainly be doing my part on that. August 21st to the 23rd, as you know, is Celebrate Holyoke coming up, so that's going to be very nice. Thing that we haven't had that in quite a number of years. So if you have an opportunity to attend that, I wanted to pass that along. On September 22nd, just wanted to pass on to you, I know it is primary day, but that is the date that the Big E has now picked for Holyoke Day. So just thought I'd give you that FYI. So that is going to be the Holyoke Day, September 22nd at the Big E. The other thing I just wanted to pass on to you was, as a follow-up, was about the cable television issue. After a lot of different cajoling and whatnot and hard work, certainly as always on Kara's part, myself, Kara, and the mayor voted to make a number of changes in the bylaws that now has created this Holyoke Community Media, Inc., and I thought it came out very reasonable. I thought the mayor was very accommodating to a number of the revisions that I had proposed. So basically, a lot of them were input that I got from you, my colleagues, especially regarding issues like following the same open meeting law, making sure that there aren't telephone meetings, that people are corporally present. The city council has also been given a seat on the interim board. That we have that was added as an amendment that I had proposed, that the city council can appoint a representative board of director that'll have voting power on the interim board, and we will also have 2, I believe, seats on the future board. I think that's right. I'm saying it. 1 or 2. 1, maybe. I forget. On the future permanent board. I believe that's correct. Something like that. And so anyways, that'll be next year's thing. But anyways, if anybody's interested in serving on that, that's also a possibility as well. So, but I will just say we did raise, I just want to check out with ethics first. I'm going to talk to them generally just to make sure city councilors can serve on it, that board of directors if we want to. So I will check into that. So more to follow. There's about $1 million in that fund right now. This is the fund that receives the franchise fees on everybody's cable TV bill, and this is going to be what's going to be the new community access, public access network here in Holyoke. Councilor Leahy.
Can I just add one more event to your schedule there?
Sure.
During the time of Celebrate Holyoke, there's also going to be an event Saturday, August 22nd, called Slide the City, which is a 1,000 linear a foot water slide that's coming to the city. It's going to be Dwight Street between Chestnut Street and Front Street. Any money raised, half the money goes to the company that's organizing this, and the other half is going to the charity of my choice, which I was excited about, and that's the Boys and Girls Club. And so I recommend you getting tickets early because it's cheaper. Thank you.
Okay. Saw something about the mayor's office was offering $5 tickets. 10? But I saw something in the paper about there's a possibility of getting $5 tickets.
So what happened was they needed X amount of tickets to sell,
$5 tickets?
And so the mayor's office and the Celebrate Holyoke group, they bought a boatload of tickets, and so you can get them through different organizations as well. Right. So I would certainly start maybe with the mayor's office, but then I would go online and make sure you buy your tickets early.
If I bought one, I'd have to buy 3 at the Jourdain House to make everybody happy.
Or maybe 6.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Councilor Graney.
Yeah, could you just say again the time and date at the senior thing at the Pope John Paul Center?
9 a.m., I believe that's kicking off, yep.
On what day?
What day?
No, he's talking about
you mean the senior? Oh, the senior thing. I think that's actually starting at. I think that's going 11 to 2.
11.
Excuse me. The senior event on the 20th at the Pope John Paul is 11 to 2. The one that's the Purple Heart Trail at the Senior Center is 9.
This Saturday. 9.
That's this Saturday. The other one's on the 20th from 11 to 2. Okay. Yes, sir. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, I know it's not appropriate to debate the President's report, and I don't intend to do that, but I'd just like to reiterate my position that any change in PEG access should require a vote of this body, because PEG access was created by a vote of this body.
Fair enough.
Amen.
And that was definitely, as you said, looked at in the committee and was reviewed. All right, Councilor Tomlin.
Yeah, Mr. President, just to add on, I don't know if anybody got the email about from the Veterans agent, Mr. Mahoney, about the flag raising also at 4:30 for the POW MIA flag and the Purple Heart Trail flag. It'll be 4:30 this Friday, August 7th, right out front here.
Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, any other announcements or anything else? Okay, all right, great. All right, thanks, everybody. And now we're off to reports of committees. And we're going to start first up with our ordinance committee. And lead off on this is 27A, the Committee on Ordinance, to whom was referred an order that, in lieu of a costly and impractical public acceptance of Owens Place as a public way, the City Council enact an ordinance authorizing temporary repairs to Owens Place. According to Mass General Law...
Mr. President, could you
Yes.
do abbreviated reading? Because we actually already saw this order before us, and
okay,
just in interest of time, yeah.
All right. Basically, this ordinance committee report seeking to be adopted without a recommendation, by the way, without a recommendation, is to create a set of new rules regarding temporary repairs on public ways, in which people would actually have to petition to allow the city to actually make repairs on public ways. So that is the proposal.
Receive and adopt.
Receive and to pass the first reading, I would assume, is to make this an ordinance.
Yes, you're right. Sorry. So it's
Okay,
receive and
pass the first
reading.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and to pass the first reading, and hopefully people have a copy of these new restrictions. Recognizing Councilor Leahy.
Can I just ask why it was sent to us without a recommendation? Can I just ask the vote? Was it tied?
No, it was a
The
unanimous vote, too.
The vote was unanimous to send it without a recommendation.
Thank you.
So that the council could vote however it wishes, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we vote however we wish anyways. Councilor Lisi.
Did we pass the first reading? I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, we're still at
Under
first reading, and now I turn it over to you to give your chairman's report on this particular item.
So the reason why it left committee without a recommendation is because really there's a lot of ambivalence around what this change of the ordinance will do. On one hand, it may make the process for filling potholes and doing minor repairs to private ways more onerous and cumbersome for residents. But on the other hand, it provides the city with legal protections in case there's any damages done if we are doing repair works on these private ways. If we're going to use Owens Place as an example, this law does not exclusively apply to Owens Place, but it can be used as an example. The DPW goes onto Owens Place to do some plowing, to do trash pickup, and also to fill potholes. But every time they do those things, the city takes on a risk, a legal liability for doing that work. So this creates a process in which the residents of that private way can petition the city council to consider doing minor repairs, and then that petition would go on to the Board of Public Works, who would make a recommendation as to whether or not we should do those repairs and how much those repairs would cost. And then the full city council would vote, A, on doing those repairs, and B, if we want to assess the costs onto the residents through a betterment, or if we want to essentially eat the cost as a city. We have limited the type and extent to repairs to minor repairs, pothole repair, and other patchwork on the streets. We decided that no drainage repair should be included. That 75% of the abutters would have to sign the petition in order to make those repairs. That betterment charges may be assessed, but the city council would have the ability to then, like I said, either charge the residents for those assessments or take on those charges as the city. We are taking on zero liabilities, so we're not going to be responsible for any damage that are caused by any of those repairs. And the petition is good simply for the individual repair that's being petitioned for. Again, this is not limited to Owens Place. It would be applicable to any private way that is in need of repairs and allows us to go onto that property without actually taking that street on as a public way. It remains private and allows the city to do work without any legal responsibility. That's my summary. If the maker of the order wants to add anything, Councilor Valentin.
Councilor Valentin.
Thank you. We discussed this at length in ordinance, and I think it has some good things, and I think it has some not so great things. One of the reasons why I think it would be helpful to have this is in terms of, for example, consistency. Right now we have a superintendent of DPW who, out of the goodness of his heart and being a team player, is doing these things, for our private ways, even though there's really nothing that says that this needs to happen. So if we implement this, and I obviously, everyone will interpret this proposal however is best for them. But if we implement it, it's an issue of consistency, and so that if for some reason, Bill is not here in the future, and we have different administration and we have different department heads, that there is some consistency that folks can go by. I also understand that it's a bit of a challenge because it's kind of putting up some barriers that haven't been there. So it's definitely a situation that has its pros and its cons. So, but I did want to mention that one of the I think the pros would be that there would be some consistency regarding of who's in what office in terms of what the citizens could expect. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I think this was an order that was filed with a very good intention, but I guess the analogy that I would use is the cure is worse than the disease, because we're creating such a bureaucratic process to get things done that people can already accomplish without it. But there were some very good comments made and concerns raised about liability of the city people going onto the private road. And it occurred to me that we could just simply have the people who we have been doing this for and who we expect to continue to do it for sign a hold harmless agreement with the city, which would be a one-time thing. And then the requests could continue to come through as they do. And I think, as we have all found as ward councilors to be the case, that things happen in accordance with need and availability, and they're always prioritizing the to-do list. So it seems to me, I'm not an attorney, but I am familiar with the hold harmless agreements, and it seems like we might end up with a win-win and a shorter path if we perhaps went that way. Thank you.
Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. I'm going to vote for this because we need to fix the road. We need to do something here. But I don't think this is the right solution. Councilor Valentin spoke about consistency. Consistency is we pave all the other roads in the city. Why don't we pave this one? Right. Consistency is if somebody drives onto Northampton Street, where I live, or Appleton Street, or anything else, they incur risk exposure to damaging the properties along either side of the street. Why is that different somehow than Owens Way? This is just another street. It should be accepted as a public street. This is the solution to providing services to all of the people consistently and equally throughout the city. So say if you live in the city, you get city services. This fiction that this is somehow a private way and we have to go through any of, I think, 3 different long, elaborate processes I've heard so far to get a pothole repaired, this is crazy talk. We should adopt this as a street. I'll introduce a separate order later on. I realize this is not the right vehicle for that. We should pass this to get the potholes fixed. We should move on, and we should get rid of this fiction that certain roads don't get city services. Thank you.
Councilor Shatnoff.
Thank you. But that's not what this order's like. Consistency, like these people are going to have to pay for the pothole repair work. There's a pothole on my street. I don't pay for it right now.
They should not.
But saying that, like, I understood the intent when this all got started, but the more we delved into it, it just was opening a can of worms and going and going and going. So that's why we sent it out with a recommendation, because we're all like, now all these people, and it's like 40 streets that people are going to have to pay for repairs that, like Josie, who's a very hard-working ward counselor, was she's getting it done without all people having to pay. So that's all I got to say.
People are already paying.
Then the other issue is petitioning 75% of your neighbors to
get a
have
pothole fixed. I mean, come on.
You're going to create an ordinance to do that by voting for this, but that's one of the things. Councilor McGivern.
I think there's good points made on both sides of the argument. The one I'd like to add is the one that's the most difficult to get over is these may be called, and I think some people would be surprised at the name of some of the streets that are private ways. I was.
Did we
get
that list, by the way, of the 40 streets?
We're supposed to get it.
Bill's been on vacation, from what I understand.
I'll have to follow up with Bill, because I wanted that list of the 40 streets.
We did request it.
Okay.
However,
Thank
we left.
Councilman McGivern, you have the floor.
Some of these streets, it's a good point, because I thought we had a list, but I've seen the list, and some of these streets, have been paved and sidewalks have been put in and maintained over the years, and some of them have not. The issue that hasn't been brought up, but we talked about in committee, was they're private ways, but the property tax is the same as everybody else. They're assessed the same way as any homeowner and pay the same amount of taxes according to the value of their home. And now we're going to be pitting homeowners against homeowners and trying to make a decision, and we're going to charge them for, and it's not just potholes, it's paving of the street. It's a number of things, sidewalk repairs, trees in the sidewalk or the tree belt. It goes on and goes on. And it's something that over the years the city has taken care of, right or wrong, and I think we're going in the right direction, but we're not quite at the finish line yet.
Councilor Leahy?
Yes, thank you. And just to piggyback what Joe's saying, it gets even worse than that. It goes underneath the streets as well. So you might have an issue with your water or sewer. You're going to have to pay that. Not only are you going to have to pay for that, you're going to have to get 75% of the other people on your street to agree that you can do that. I think that the ideal of this ordinance is probably a good thing, but I think it's wrong. I think what we need to do is just, quite frankly, get 40. I think it's 43 of these streets. Liberty Street's one of them over in Ward 7. I think that we need to get them on the books so it's fair to everyone. So I'm urging you guys to vote no on this. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
So two separate issues that are coming up tangentially to this are, number one, some private ways, such as Owens Place, do not meet the legal footage requirements to be accepted as a public way. And then, relatedly, there was at the last meeting, I believe, or 2 meetings ago, an order filed on behalf of the DPW to begin accepting a number of these private ways as public ways to help increase our Chapter 90 money. I don't want to go too far into that issue, but I just want to say that there's been a separate order filed to figure out if we want to accept additional private ways as public ways.
All of them. Okay. All right. Anything else? Oh, Councilor Bartley.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be pretty brief. I just want to follow up with what Jim said. I think Jim raises up, I think, a point that, well, I strongly agree with him on these city streets. But for some reason that's lost to history, some are public and some are private. And at some point tonight, hopefully soon, we'll get to Order 57, and that's one that I filed, and we can talk about something we heard in committee with Bill Fuqua. I've at least a couple of times complimented the Ward 4 councilor on the order and the ideal, but I will, though I don't have a dog in this fight, I'm going to oppose this, vote against this order tonight, and I'm just expressing my opinion tonight, the same one I expressed in committee, and that is the mechanics of this don't work for me. Basically, a street will be petitioned, and on that petition will be a yay or nay, which sounds great, except the part they leave out on the petition is, when you're signing for this, is who's paying for it. That's an unknown. So when somebody's coming around to my door, knocking on the door, Dave, you want to? Yeah, definitely want to fill my potholes. Where do I sign? Well, at some point down the road, there's going to be a vote by the DPW commissioners saying, who pays for this? well, is the city going to pay for this? No, we don't have the money because free cash isn't there, so we're going to impose what's called a betterment. That's a tax, which I said in committee, no way am I voting for a tax to fill a pothole on somebody's street. Not going to do it. So, but this is, I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but when you don't have the facts in front of you, when you're asking to sign a petition, I think it's a little convoluted. Right now, there's kind of a nod and a wink process. The DPW does the job. They fill the potholes. I really like Linda's idea. I think it's a great one for a hold harmless, and I'd rather have those mechanics go into effect for those streets, those 40X streets that are private ways, and if they indeed want to sign a hold harmless saying that the city can come on. I don't remember too many lawsuits in that list of 300 against the city by residents of Owens Way, Mr. President, but it could happen, and so I think I would support Linda's idea if she wants to file that in any kind of order for a hold harmless for down the road. But this, the way it's laid out, it's a good idea with too many unintended consequences.
Okay. Councilor Graney.
The whole harmless idea is much cleaner and much more efficient.
Anybody else like to be heard on this? Councilor Alexander.
Just to say out loud that given the arguments, I'm going to change my vote. I'm going to vote against this. Thank you.
Councilor Valentin.
I'm not going to take it personal for anybody who votes against this. This obviously came to fruition because I had enough people at Owens Place who are my constituents saying I cannot get my car through to my house without scraping the bottom of it. And because it's a private way, the city is not willing to fix it. And so I had to do something about that. And I had very, very productive conversations with the law department, with the ordinance committee, and I understand that this is not perfect. And I agree with Councilor Bacon that definitely it could be very much that the cure is worse than the disease right now. Out of, what's the word I'm looking for? Morally, I need to vote in favor of it because it's about my constituents, and this is the best we have right now because we don't have something else. So I will be voting in favor of it. I might be the only yes vote, and that's okay. That's not the first time, and it won't be the last. But just, obviously this came from good intentions, and sometimes when you get more and more into the legal process, you learn more and more, and you find out that what we've been doing, even though it's not necessarily by the books, is what's working for everyone. The problem is, that one time that it becomes an issue. So I will be voting yes, but I understand where everyone's coming from. Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
I just want to wrap by saying that this is Chapter 40, State Statute 6, or Section 6N. So it's not like we, crafted this very complicated process on purpose. It's what's offered by the state to us as a municipality as a way to deal with this issue. And if we have found through our discussions that the hold harmless route may prove more efficient for our city, given the small number of residents on each of these private ways, I'm happy to pursue that avenue as well.
Okay.
On the motion.
On the motion, so on adoption of the first reading, I'd ask the council if we could just get up to the final adoption. So maybe we just vote in favor of first and second reading and bring this thing to a vote. So all in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so moved.
Motion to pass second reading.
Okay, motion's been made second to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded that the passage be ordained. There is no further debate. The clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting the ordinance change. A no vote is to deny it.
Leahy,
No.
Lisi,
No.
McGivern,
No.
Soto, Tommen,
Yes.
Bacon,
No.
Valentin,
Yes.
Alexander,
No.
Bartley,
No.
Chatnoff,
No.
Graney,
No.
Jordan.
No.
10 nays, 2 yeas.
Okay, by your vote, you have not adopted the ordinance change.
Thanks, Pete.
No problem. I happen to be on Owens Place twice in the last couple of weeks, so I know the situation over there.
It's a disaster.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is. It is.
Right.
Items 27B, C, and D as a package, please.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to take items 27B, C, and D as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Abbreviated reading?
Yeah, suspending the rules for abbreviated reading. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Let's see here. 27B. That the City Council Ordinance Committee work with the Planning or Clerk's Office to recraft the application process for special permits for auto vehicle sales and vehicle repair. Committee says that that has been complied with. 27C requested that we amend the ordinances to remove no parking on Lawler Street near Barry Farrell's and move it closer to Northampton Street. Committee recommends that that has been complied with. 27D was referred in order that the relevant parties in a number of city departments are mentioned, develop ordinances for historic preservation, looking at a number of the different rules and such. Consider holding a public hearing to solicit citizen input and further consider these ordinances from various communities and other experts in the field that recommend that this order has been complied with. That's 27B, C, and D.
Motion to receive and adopt all three.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt all three committee recommendations, which is that these orders have all been complied with. Under discussion, Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. So related to 27B, all we did there, we had a door open to create some ordinance changes, but really through the committee process, all we did was revamp the applications themselves, which are under the purview of the clerk's office. So effectively, we revamped the applications for special permits for auto vehicle sales and vehicle repair, and have sent them along to the clerk's office as strong recommendations that they be used. And this is because what we found in ordinance committee is, again, these special permits related to auto vehicle sales and vehicle repair have been very complicated. They've been confusing not only for the applicant but for the committee members. The timelines haven't been clear. The information that's required of the applicants have not been clear. And so through this committee process, we help to streamline the application itself, make it really clear what needs to be offered, and carved out the specific language in the ordinance and attached it to the application, so that people can understand what exactly they are required to submit. And then there's a number of really simple check boxes that would act as red flags or triggers for the planning department to say, this application isn't satisfactory, it doesn't have enough information for us to make a sound decision on. Related to 27C, I'm sorry, Councilor Bartley, I don't remember the details of this.
The sign was moved.
The sign is gone. We were trying to remove a sign, and it is gone.
It's definitely complied with.
Yeah.
And then related to 27D, this order was filed by Councilor Valentin in an attempt to help create some more synergies and communication between the Historical Commission, the Office for Community Development, the Office of Planning and Economic Development, as well as the Law Department, the Planning Department, and, the Building and Codes Department and the Fire Department, related to the preservation of historic buildings. The order filed was somewhat omnibus. We had in all these different departments to kind of check in, and the conversation was fairly productive. We learned that there is actually a lot happening to coordinate these various departments and get everybody on the same page. There's permitting group meetings that are happening. Additionally, the fire department got some new equipment that helps layer in historic building information onto a citywide database that these other departments are starting to use. The Historic Commission is going to be adding additional information to the vacant building list and the structurally unsound list that the fire department is currently using. So it seems that for anything more specific to happen, we need more specific individual orders to be filed. But we started the conversation, and we're really happy to report out that there is a higher level of communication and coordination between these various city departments related to historic buildings.
Going to have, where's the abbreviated reading on the chairman's report?
Yeah, jeez. Like this.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the details.
Absolutely.
You're
Okay,
just reading
okay.
the agenda items.
Oh,
Wow.
hey. That's okay. That's okay. Touche, touche. Councilor McGivern.
Volley back and forth, Mr. President.
Love
I'm
it,
not sure.
love it.
Real quick,
Good order, Becca.
I'm in agreement with the orders have been complied with, but I just want to add to 27B, and it goes hand in hand with the discussion we had earlier on which committee to send some of these special permits. We created special permits for used cars, for motor vehicle repairs, and a couple others because of the problem that's out there of these type of businesses popping up everywhere and not being regulated by the proper authorities within the city. Number of cars on the lot, number of repair vehicles, number of gutted vehicles, the eyesore. I think a lot of it was thanks to our former city councilor and good friend Diosdado Lopez in trying to correct some of these eyesores and brought the special permit process into the zoning ordinance itself. It makes sense. But we took these special permits and they're so cumbersome that they're regulatory special permits. By that I mean they talk about everything from the number of cars, the parking spaces, the size of the parking space, the motor vehicle, the ability to separate the water, the oil, and everything that goes on with the needs of a repair business or a used car sales lot. And that doesn't belong in front of the city council. Use belongs in front of the city council. Should this particular parcel be allowed to have a used car lot if it abides by the regulatory ordinances in accordance with the building department, the Board of Health, the planning board for site plan review, the fire department, and so on. And I think that's why we're struggling with these things, and I think it's just unfair that we're going to be bringing numbers of department heads to these public hearings when we should be just talking about the use and allowing the department heads to give their approval or not approval at a future date, and the permit is subject to the approval of the regulatory body, not just the city council.
Any other thoughts? Hearing none. All in favor that these three items be complied with?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. That now moves us over to the Finance Committee.
All right, Mr. President.
Oh, hold on. Let me read it.
Sorry.
28A. The Committee on Finance, to whom was referred a second-hand license application from Gabrielle Serrano and Idle Ortiz for Kingdom Master Jewelers of 2020 Northampton Street. Have considered the same. Recommend the application be approved. Motion to receive, adopt the committee report and to grant the permit.
Yes, sir.
The second-hand license.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, is there a second to that? Second. Under discussion, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Councilor McGee contacted me earlier today. He's on a family vacation, and he asked me to go over these two committee reports. So this first one, 28A, is two gentlemen. They've done work in the city for Kay's Jewelry. About 4 years ago, they decided to open their own shop. They decided to do that up in Hadley, Mass. And after doing that successfully for 4 years, they decided to open a second shop in the city of Holyoke. They did negotiations, and they got a good lease over at the Dam Cafe, which is for myself and Councilor President Jourdain, our old barber, Larry. And that's the building that they're in. I did drive by today and noticed that they already have a sign up. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that before we even say yes. However, they did an excellent job in the presentation, and they answered all of our questions, and they did speak to the police department, so everyone's on the same page. So the Finance Committee voted 5-0 in favor of them.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts, Councilor Barber?
I just want to thank the Finance Committee for its support of this applicant. It's over in the Ward 3 area, and I did happen to meet with the applicants on a couple of occasions, and I think that's going to be a positive addition to Elmwood, and I support this order.
Councilor Soto.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I've known Mr. Serrano for a number of years. I was ecstatic to know that. Pleased to hear that he was considering. They've been looking for a location in Holyoke that was to their fit. They've been in Hadley for a number of years. I personally have bought my wedding bands from them. They're great individuals, trustworthy, and they'll be a great addition to the Ward 3. I'm sure Councilor Bartley will be very happy to have them in his ward, and I would encourage us all to support this. This is what it's all about, bringing business to the city of Holyoke, and I'm really happy that they decided to finally come here. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, this gentleman came in and spoke what they want to do there, and then changed the design and the sign. I believe that was one of the concerns, and how they could put the sign up there, and it's really going to be a good addition to that ward and that neighborhood up there on Northampton Street.
Thank you. Okay. Without further ado, any further discussion? Hearing none. The clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting the committee report and approving the license. A no vote is to deny it.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Soto,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin, Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Chatnoff,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous.
By your unanimous vote, you have approved the secondhand license for Kingdom Master Jewelers. Moving on to the next Finance Committee report, that is the Committee on Finance, to whom was referred an order that the Chamber of Commerce's financial review team be invited into the Finance Committee to discuss the FY15 and FY16 budgets. Recommend that the order has been complied with.
Make a motion to receive and adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor Leahy.
Yes, representatives of the Chamber of Commerce came into the Finance Subcommittee. We went back and forth. We went over different things. They were very helpful. They came up with some good ideas. We came up with some good ideas, and the Finance Committee voted 5-0 that was complied with.
Any other thoughts? All in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Moving on to public safety. Item number 29A.
Mr. President, if we can take up 29A through 29F as a package.
Second.
Okay, that's music to our ears. All right. Motion to suspend the rules to take up items 29A through 29F. You said, Madam
Yes,
Chair?
thank you.
Okay, as a package, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Abbreviated
With the
readings,
abbreviated readings, thank you.
Yes,
moved.
they're short mostly.
Let's just see here. Public safety. First one up, 29A. Order that the Chief of Police, DPW, and Board of Health be invited in to discuss a safety plan on dealing with needles found by constituents. 29B is that the Board of Health come before the City Council to discuss the plan to deal with opiate drug use in the City of Holyoke. 29C, that was referred in order that an evaluation and steps to improve the safety and traffic flow of the intersection of Lower Westfield Road, Holy Family Road, and the entrance to the old Geriatric Authority, as well as the congregate housing. 29D, an order that the city engineer study the intersection of Magnolia and McKenzie and determine if a stop sign, yield sign, or other appropriate traffic signal be installed. 29E, an order that the DPW and United Water ensure that the drainage system near 207 Fairmont Street can handle the water runoff capacity and to take corrective measures as necessary. 29F, that the DPW and United Water look into the catch basin drainage issues at the corner of Woods Avenue and Francis Avenue. Madam Chair, floor is yours. Do you have a motion?
Motion that these orders were found to be complied with.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that the committee reports that they be complied with, that all of these committee reports be adopted. Correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, and that, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Under discussion, Councilor Bacon.
Okay, thank you. Under item 29A, we had Mr. Fitzgerald in from the Board of Health to clarify what the safety plan is, because we've continued to get feedback from people that there's still an issue with the needles on the ground and concerns about needle sticks. So Brian came in and he informed us that the main path to deal with these is through Tapestry at this time. He provided us with their hotline number, which is 650-2679. The police department had at a prior meeting, and the Board of Health folks also said that they will come out per request when they can, but that the main avenue to address this matter is through Tapestry. And so I think it's a matter of being vigilant to keep track of what's going on in the community because of the significant gang and drug activity here, and anything that we can do to diminish the harm is critical. But we did find that for purposes of this order, it was complied with.
On that? Just very quickly, if we could, Linda, just go through each one and I'll give my comments. I don't think it's a secret that I think there's more needles on the ground now than there ever have been. In my opinion, this needle exchange program is failing. There's just needles everywhere. If you're not getting calls from your constituents, I'm not sure why, because they're calling me. I'm sure they're calling many of us. When they're in front of us, I asked if they could put different colors on the needles that they're handing out, and they pretty much said no. So we have no idea which needles are being found or which needles aren't being found. All we do know is talking to the public safety people, there's a lot more being found. So as Linda said, for the constituents at home, write down this number, 413-650-2679. And if you see a needle anywhere, call that number and have them come pick it up. If they're giving them out, they should go get them. This isn't working. Thank you.
I disagree with the department heads, especially the Board of Health and the police department. If someone finds a needle at a playground, I think there needs to be a response by the city. Number one, that says there's some type of illegal activity going on. The police department needs to file a report. The correct department should be aware of what's going on in terms of the public health endangerment by a needle being found everywhere, especially when it's found by a playground. And I think it's a poor response by our department heads.
Mr. President, I would just note that I had a discussion with a representative from our Board of Health, and I pointed out to her that with the reporting that we're getting from Tapestry, none of the numbers support the activity that is going on when they make claims that they're picking up so many needles, because it's clearly documented that more are given out than picked up. And so because they are the body that approved this program, they are the body that should be following up on these reports and looking out for the safety of the city. I disagree that they even had the authority to approve the program, but here it is, and here we are. So I did bring that to their attention, and I think we have to continue to raise this issue until we finally get rid of this terrible program that's doing no good for anybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't want to weigh in on the needle exchange program, but the Board of Health is our public health agency, and this is a public health issue, and saying, don't call us, call some private entity is a pretty lame answer, I have to say. They should be acting on this, and they should be responding. Thank you.
Well, I need to clarify that they did not say, don't call us, call them. They said, we will go out. The police department said, we will go out. But the main body that was not well known at all, even to the members of the committee, never mind the general public, that is supposed to be picking them up, that is getting the money to run the program, is Tapestry.
Yeah, no,
Thank
not
you.
a good enough answer.
I agree they shouldn't be doing it also. So do you want me to keep going through each?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep rolling along. Okay, so under 29B, filed by Councilor Soto, that the Board of Health come before the City Council to discuss its plans to deal with the opioid use in the city, including prevention and treatment programs in coordination with other agencies and institutions. Katie Gallagher came in. She went over with us the DPH grant where they're collaborating, and they're a member of the opiate abuse prevention group. And so they are participating in that way. It was pointed out to us that 3/4 of the detox programs have been shut down, and they're seeing that as a major need to address this issue. but that's what the group is looking at, trying to get more activity going to intervene on the problem in a proactive way. I'll defer to committee members that may wish to add.
Yeah, very quickly, this is an similar order to what I filed some time ago. I had the Department of Public Health and the Fire Department and the chief and the fire chief in. I'm happy to say that the state police are now trained and they're carrying it. The fire department is trained and they're carrying Narcan, and also the Holyoke Police Department will be carrying it as well. A report that came out today, this is an epidemic. I mean, we heard so much about Ebola, and less than 10 people died with Ebola. 19 people in the city of Holyoke had carelessly died because of this awful epidemic, and it is an epidemic. Our Governor Charles Baker has called this an epidemic even before that developed Patrick. This is an awful thing, and I'm glad that we're on the same page with this, and if one life gets saved. Thank you.
I think the health department's doing the right thing and being a part of the partnership and sending the correct word out. And both speakers are correct that this is beyond an epidemic. These numbers are staggering. Detox is the medical withdrawal from a person who's addicted to a drug and cannot do it without help or jeopardize a number of different health issues by entering into a detox for up to maybe 10 days. What we don't have is enough programs after detox for a person who is walking out of there sober and not able to get into a residential or a halfway program or any type of counseling to meet the demand that's out there. And what we're finding out is a number of people are falling back and relapsing sometime after they detox. So I hope the governor is true to his word and the state legislature listens to him and sends the help, not just to this city, but to the entire region, because this is beyond just a city problem. This opiate addiction is something that we've never seen the numbers even as long as heroin has been around. We have never seen the numbers. They have increased the potency of the drug, and we're looking at young people between the ages of 17, 18, and 29, 30, that are becoming the addicts. And it's sad. It's a very sad case, and we're just going to see more tragedy if we don't get more help, in the form of programs and in the form of treatment after a person detoxes.
Yeah, and one of the problems is when these young folks come out of detoxes, they shoot the same amount, and that amount is what's causing the overdoses in many cases, because their body is withdrawn, and now they go back and they start and they use the same amount of heroin that they were using before, and this creates the overdose, which is an ongoing problem. And the counseling should be, when they get out, that should be part of the counseling, some kind of a rehabilitation program ongoing to help them out. I don't know where that would come from or how it would come, but that would help.
So item 29C was the intersection at the old geriatric authority, and that was found to be complied with the agreement to change the two-way stop there to a four-way stop to keep the flow safer.
Which has happened.
I think that was pretty straightforward. 29D, relative to the intersection of Magnolia and Mackenzie, it was agreed to add a stop sign on the left side of Portland in order to relieve the safety concerns at that intersection. Matt Sokop recommended that, and so based on that, we found it to be complied with. 29E, filed by Councilor Bartley, relative to 207 Fairmont and the runoff capacity. We were updated by Matt Sokop that the stormwater drain had been updated to handle the water in the road. So from their point of view, they've taken the steps that they can to accomplish that, and that was found to be complied with also. 29, you all set? Oh.
Yeah, I know this has been an ongoing problem for a number of years, and I think, Mr. President, we've dealt with this probably 8-10 years ago in this area, in this flooding. And at that time, I think Bill said that they did fix made the pipe runoff a bigger pipe, but it's still at times when you have a downpour and a severe rain, it's going to happen. I mean, you're going to have some flooding, and this individual's yard, I think, when it's a really heavy rain, it does get filled up in the flooding, and Councilor Bartley probably knows about that. But hopefully, in time, if it can be worked at. A lot of this has to do with the Soldiers' Home and the changes up there at the parking lot. That maybe this can be resolved, but in a heavy downpour, heavy rain, I think it's still going to cause problems. So.
Kevin? Yeah, and I just want to thank Linda for taking this order up and getting some good feedback from Matt Sokop, who I know we're going to miss, and I wish him well in Springfield. Yeah, I just want to follow up what Peter just said. The Soldiers' Home at some point has got to take some ownership of this issue, and to my way of thinking, they don't. They are a group that's going to come back ultimately, I think, to this city council. My understanding is to build more parking lots up there and possibly looking to expand. And so, but the impact on the neighborhood would be damned, in their opinion. And I've advised the superintendent and the trustees that will listen, and they're few and far between up there, that you're not just going to run roughshod over that part of Holyoke or the city council or the city. And they said, well, we'll take our chances. I said, okay, well, we'll see what happens, gentlemen. But I want this body to be aware. I mean, it may happen during my term. It may happen after I leave this body. But a lot of you are going to still be here, and I just wish that down the road that you know, whatever words I say aren't important. But I wish you would remember this: that at Soldiers' Home, we admire to our core the veterans that are there in the service, and we are so proud in Holyoke, just like in Chelsea, to have that Soldiers' Home in our presence, among our midst. Put that to the side. It's the impact that they want to impose upon the city, that they think they can just get away with it because we're the Soldiers' Home. Well, I would just suggest to you that when the time comes, that we act prudently. Thank you.
And I would just note that if there are new developments, our planning folks, and we certainly, as being well aware of these issues in that neighborhood, can look for mitigation monies relative to issues like this, which we often do for traffic. But in this case, it's just a different kind of issue, but it would certainly fall under that category. So on to 29F, which was relative to the catch basin and drainage issues at the corner of Woods and Francis Avenue. DPW folks had come in. They had completed the work there, and initially the cover that was to go over it to keep the flow slower so that it wouldn't flood so rapidly had been placed on another drainage area rather than this one. And so it's our understanding that that was corrected, so we found that to be complied with. And I just want to state, as Councilor Bartley did, that Matt Sokop has come into our committee on many occasions. He's always well-informed and planful in his responses, and we found him very good to work with, and we'll miss him. So I just wanted to throw out that thank you to him.
Yeah, just briefly, I want to thank Councilor Bacon for taking all these issues, important public health issues and traffic issues and drainage issues. That last one about Woods Avenue and Francis, I know a couple years ago we had a couple constituents, a couple families and homeowners right at Woods Avenue that had flooding in their basement, and because of this, and hopefully this will resolve that problem. Thank you.
Yes. All set.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting all these committee reports?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We had no public service, DGNR, or Charter and Rules Committee reports for this particular meeting.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just next DGR will be Monday, the 14th of September at 6 o'clock.
Monday the 14th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay. This now moves us over to motions, orders, and resolutions. We're now at item number 33, which is introduced by Councilor Leahy. Order that the mayor and fire chief come before the Public Safety Committee as soon as possible to discuss the brownout of both Engine 2 and TAC 2. Please come prepared to discuss potential options of putting this apparatus back online.
Yeah, I make a motion to receive, send to both the mayor and also maybe the union, the fire union, and also the fire chief.
Okay, as well as public safety, of course.
Yes, I'm sorry, of course.
Yeah. All right, so motion on the floor is to receive, refer to the Public Safety Committee with a copy to the mayor, to the union chief, as well as to the fire chief. Under discussion, Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, very quickly, just so obviously everybody in here knows, but so everybody at home knows as well, there was no cuts to the fire department at this budget cycle. So I think it's appropriate to have the mayor and the fire chief to come in, discuss what their plans are for putting back Engine 2 or TAC 2. Maybe they don't have plans to do it, but I think that instead of the city council getting blamed for this, I think it's appropriate to bring them in and let's see what they have to say.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 34 is introduced by Councilors Leahy and Tallman. Order that the bleachers at Mayor Field be fixed as soon as possible.
I make a motion to receive, send to the Parks and Rec and DPW.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and adopt and refer to the DPW and the Parks Department.
Can I make an amendment?
Sure.
That amendment that says that every set of bleachers in every field be fixed, because having since I authored this one, I've driven around and I've seen a lot of bleachers broken.
Okay. So that you want to amend this to say, instead of just at Mayor Field, all bleachers
Yes,
at
sir.
all parks. Okay, so amendment on the floor is to amend to say that ordered that the bleachers at all parks be fixed as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
All in favor of this amendment?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. At all parks. Okay, Councilor Soto?
Can I be added on to that? If it's okay with
Councilor Leahy?
Of course.
Okay, adding
I
Councilor
love having
Soto.
Councilor Soto on all my orders.
Okay, as a co-sponsor.
Good orders.
Any other discussion? Councilor Tallman?
Yeah, just briefly, I got that email, I think that Jim did, a co-worker of mine's wife actually sent a picture of me of the condition of the bleachers are really bad. And actually, I think the next, I called up the DPW and they said they would take care of it, but of course, things take time. And I think they went out there with just taped everything up to make sure nobody, they caution tape, so nobody would get on it. But somebody fell through there, I guess, because it was actually broken, and somebody could have got hurt pretty bad. So as Councilor Leahy stated, we got to look at all the bleachers and all the parks. And as time goes on, these things get wet, they get damaged, weather damaged, and hopefully they can take care of them and get them repaired.
But what's interesting about it is, these things don't just deteriorate overnight.
No. Over time.
Who's inspecting these things? Whoever looks into these things, Councilor Leahy.
You're absolutely right. And the thing is, we have a lot of parks, and we have a lot of people using these parks on a daily basis. And I think it's fantastic. I love driving by and seeing people utilizing the parks. I drive on 391 every single day, and those two basketball courts are the best utilized things that I think that we've done in the city. I love seeing people playing all throughout the day. But to your point, Councilor Soto just showed a picture, and he can show it to everyone. These benches are in awful shape, and a lot of these benches only require 2x4. You can get a Home Depot for 98 cents. I think that the DPW and the Parks Department should go around and do inspections. There's maybe three times a year. Thank you.
This is not expensive stuff. Yeah, Councilor McGivern.
I understand the need for the yellow tape. The first time I drove by Mayor Field, I thought I was going to be reading about a homicide scene or something in the paper. But if the bleachers are that bad, they should be dismantled because tape's not going to stop some youngster from climbing on top.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Attractive nuisance, we call it. Right. So, okay, Councilor Soto.
Yeah, it's a great point by all. These photos that I have, actually, I was up in Jones Point area, and they're absolutely awful. And even the tennis courts that are used by Holyoke Catholic and everything else, it's pretty embarrassing.
Extremely embarrassing. My neighbor goes out and weed whacks them.
You can see, actually, in the tennis courts, you can see they weed whack. I took photos of the stuff. It's
Councilor Leahy, is this the appropriate time for you to give us the tennis court update on?
There's no
Johns Square?
update.
There's no update. Yeah.
That's the pathetic thing that's going on. This has been going on over a year, and there's no update.
And we approved the extra $200,000 to do this.
Something happened with the treasurer's office where the bonding wasn't appropriate. Then also we lost a treasurer who was working part-time. I'm not exactly sure what was happening. Then Bill Fuqua told me we can't continue until this gets straightened out. So I filed an order some weeks ago to have this come up. It's sitting in committee now. I don't know what's happening.
Interesting.
Something needs to be done, sir. I can't keep having the Leahy children at Springdale. They need to go back there.
Ooh, that's good. Touche. I like that one. Have another coffee.
All right. All in favor of adopting item number 34?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
On behalf of Mr. McGee's vacation, I'd like to make move item number.
Hold on. We just
sure.
got to do 35.
Sorry.
Item number 35, introduced by Council Lee, that the Park and Rec assess the needs at every park, come into a meeting of public service to discuss parks conditions and offer solutions.
It is what
Public
it is.
service?
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion on the floor is to receive, refer to public service. Any discussion? Councilor Soto?
Shocker.
Okay, Councilor Soto. Imitation, the greatest form of flattery. All in favor of referring to public service?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, item number 36 and 37 be sent to finance, please.
Second. Motion's been made, second to receive, refer to 36 and 37, refer them to finance. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Item number 39 be sent to DPW. And
38.
I'm sorry.
38 is our proclamation.
Oh, that's
and item number 38 is introduced by Councilors Leahy and McGee, and somehow Councilor Leahy got inadvertently slighted on item number 38.
So did Councilor Graney
and Councilor Jordan.
Welcome to my world.
So we'll just add those.
Everybody. Can I add my name to that one too?
Yeah.
Put everybody down.
Everyone as a co-sponsor.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. All added. And this is to give a proclamation to our Schools Match Witch tournament winners, and we're going to have them in. The proclamations are actually ready, and we'll have them in for our next meeting.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
So, yes, sir.
And we'll have in the coaches too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We have a
Mark
proclamation for them too. It's already all done. Okay, and actually a proclamation for the school itself too to hang up.
We're actually going to make them answer questions to receive each one.
Yeah. Make us answer questions.
But
Will you come up with the questions?
I hope not. But
all right.
just be very quickly under discussion. As I said in my what I wrote here, this is the first time in 54 years the Holyoke High team has won this competition. It is said that the final match against the 5-time winner, Longmeadow, was the most epic battle in the show's history. It went to 4 lightning rounds before the tie was broken. And from people that were sitting there, they said there was tears. It was so much emotion. And of course, the city of Holyoke prevailed, just like I thought they would.
Yes.
There you go.
I watched it, and I loved every minute of it.
second
It
of
was
it.
so sweet. Yeah. Against Lime Meadow just made it sweeter.
Oh, I can't wait to football season. We're going to do the same.
Right.
Is there a reason Long Meadows in lowercase?
Yeah.
On the order.
On the order.
Right where they belong.
I think that was a Freudian slip, Councilor Leahy.
No, my name wasn't mentioned either, and that starts with the capital L, too. Leahy.
All right. So all in favor of adopting item number 38?
Aye.
So moved. Item 39.
President, make a motion to take up 39, 40, 41, 42, and 43 as a package.
Second.
All right. Motion to suspend the rules to take up 39 through 40. Did you say 3 or 2?
3.
43.
3 as a package. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 39 is to install some children at play signs at those 4 streets. 40 is to install a speed limit sign on George. 41 is to cut some trees overhanging at 76 Dartmouth. 42 is to patch the sidewalk at 40 Magnolia. 43 is DPW install a changing table at Community Field.
I
See with that, refer to DPW.
Yep.
Yep. Can I also make a motion to amend 43 to say
Second.
and add a water faucet or a water spigot for animals at the dog
Park.
area.
Good idea.
Park. Yeah, because a lot of folks are saying, gee, I bring my dog, they love it, but there's no place to give the dog any water.
Great idea.
Yeah, so I'd like to just add a water spigot at the dog walking, or the dog...
Dog park.
Dog park,
Dog
thank
park.
you. At dog park.
The dog recreational facility.
Yes. So,
President?
an amendment to 43 and add water spigot at dog park. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
I can be included on that one as well.
And adding Councilor Leahy and Soto to item number 43.
You can add me to that one, too.
And adding Councilor Alexander.
And Mr. President?
I had other requests there, too, like, change the wood chips
Yes,
and to
they
add
hurt.
a overhang for keeping people out of the sun. But
Wood chips are hurting the dogs.
we'll come back to that in a future order.
Mr. President, item 42.
Yes, Councilor Alexander.
Can I offer an amendment with equivalent materials or something? The DPW has a habit of putting a big blacktop patch in the middle of a concrete sidewalk.
Yeah, we've got to do something about that.
awful.
And
It's quick and
we have
cheap.
these-
I understand why they do it, but
Yeah,
it
but
looks
it's
terrible.
BS. We put these beautiful cement sidewalks,
Exactly.
and I'm sure you are too.
Yep.
Lots of complaints about beautiful thing. They dig it up for a gas pipe, water, whatever, and then they put asphalt. It looks like hell,
Yep.
And
The water guys are particularly bad about that. But if we could just put with original materials or
yeah,
something.
yeah, right, with equivalent material, yeah.
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor Greene.
On that issue, I was told some time ago that what they do is they collectively do them. They wait till there's several of them out there, and then they do them all at once, which doesn't make the situation any better, but it's more efficient for the people they're
Yeah,
doing.
and that's the problem with that is they're collectively forgetting, and they're collectively having other priorities. So yeah, that was the spiel that I got, which was we're waiting, Counselor, till we get about 10 of them, and then we're all going to go out and we're going to make them beautiful cement, and then it's like 2 years later, it's still looking at the asphalt, and it's like, come on, they just forget, or they go on to other things, or it's not right in front of them, and then,
I've been 2 years trying to get a section of curb put back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That got knocked out at some point.
We're just waiting for
It's just
some
not a
other
priority.
curbing. Yeah. Okay, so motion on the floor is to receive and adopt and refer to the DPW 39 through 43. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 44, introduced by Councilor Soto. DPW install a temporary speed hump on Old Ferry Road.
Put on the list for DPW.
Okay, so receive, adopt, refer to the DPW?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 45 is an order introduced by Councilor Soto that the DPW install a temporary speed hump on Reservation Road.
Yeah. Also, temporary. Put it on the list for DPW.
Okay, so receive, adopt, refer to the DPW?
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, under discussion, Councilor Lisi.
Sure, thank you. I know that the residents on Reservation Roads had filed a petition to actually have a permanent speed bump installed, and that petition was handed over to the ward counselor. So can we, although the petition has not been filed with the clerk's office, can we amend this to a permanent speed bump?
Well, I'm okay with that. I mean, as counselor, I've just been banging on doors up there, and this has come up. I guess they've been.
What's the process on permit? Is there supposed to be a hearing or something?
We recently
Right.
changed it, and it became complicated, which is why I think it's not actually been filed, because it requires the engineer to decipher where the speed bump is going to be, and then we need signatures within 300 feet.
Did we do those things?
Well, we don't have an engineer.
How about but we have the signatures that met the number of required?
We have some signatures.
Well, we have the whole street.
And there are a lot of kids on that road, especially the Cody kid. I mean, it runs out.
Parents aren't watching?
Parents aren't watching.
Yeah, classic. Road to ruin is bad parenting,
But the reason for the temporary, because the permanent one, the process is much longer. So if you get them on the list, I was hoping that.
Okay, so
Temporary one, the
Reservation roads on
process is
public
longer because
way
we
or
only have
private
one.
way?
there's a big fight about whether it's a state street or a
All
city
right.
street, because
So
we
who's
don't
going to
get
pay
plowed.
for this permanent speed bump? I don't know.
So, could we amend this order then with the maker's permission, to say that we do both the temporary and follow up with the engineer's office about the more permanent one?
Yeah, how about we do temporary and we request the engineer to give us a report on the permanent?
Yep.
Okay. So motion is to amend to say and add that the city engineer give us a report on doing the permanent too, as well. I'm fine with that. Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. On adoption of the order as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And 46, introduced by Councilor Soto, that a handicap sign be placed in front of 577 South Bridge Street for Nathaniel Santiago. Ordinance?
An ordinance?
Yeah, okay.
Copy to the commission.
And, motion to refer item 46 to ordinance with a copy to the Disabilities Commission. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 47, introduced by Councilors Vacan and Bartley, that a proclamation be issued to the Holyoke Rotary in recognition of the 100 years of community service and humanitarian projects. The Rotary is an international organization of business people and professionals. Some Holyoke Rotary Club service projects have included providing dictionaries and literacy backpacks to youngsters to improve their reading abilities, 8 to 10 college scholarships per year, purchase of a water purification filters for families in remote villages of Honduras as part of the Rotary Club's Pure Water for the World effort.
Adopt and prepare proclamation to be given in April of 2016, which is when the big celebration of the anniversary will occur.
And you'll remind us some point before April 2016. Thank you.
David will help me.
Of course.
Second.
All right, so all in favor of adoption?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 38 is...
48.
48?
Excuse me, 38's already handled. Let me almost get that one out of order. Let me just make sure I get my ducks in a row. Something out of place. Here we go, 48. Item number 48, introduced by Councilor Vacan, that John Lumber be requested by our legal department to return any pay he received from the City of Holyoke as treasurer after he began full-time employment for Loomis.
Motion to adopt and refer to legal, and if I can amend the order
I'll
to
second
say
that.
be requested in writing,
I'm sorry, that what be requested in writing?
that he be requested in writing.
Oh, yeah,
to
in
return
writing.
any pay.
Okay. So motion to amend after the words be requested to put in writing.
Yes, please.
Okay, all in favor of that amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Yes.
Okay, and so your motion on the floor is to receive, adopt, and refer to the law department?
Yes.
Okay,
And then to obtain any response, feedback from the law department to their inquiry. I recognize that we don't have legal authority based on the legal opinion issued to us relative to this matter. However, we have a person who wants to serve in the public office. We're talking about saving a few $1,000s by combining elections as one of the strategies. And I think if we're going to serve, we should walk the talk. Thank you.
okay, Council Leahy?
Yeah, some of the questions I think that were never answered. I don't think
Just speak in front of the mic.
I don't think we're ever some questions I don't think were ever answered. Time slips, the hours that were worked or weren't worked. I know as an elected official you don't have to put in for time slips, but I think as a good faith type of thing that if a person's saying that they're working part-time, getting paid full-time, they should provide some sort of time slips. We weren't ever notified. He said he had a key to the building. Did we ever get that back? Do you know? No. So that's another question that's outstanding. Also, did we pay for unused sick time, unused vacation time? How did that work out? Was he getting paid full retirement for the part-time work? I think there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 49 is an order introduced by Councilor Valentin that the Hoyok Police Department offer the City Council an update regarding Segways that were purchased for the department in the past, and that the possibility of selling this equipment is evaluated if it will not be used by the department.
To receive and send to the chief, since I'm assuming.
Motion to receive, adopt, and refer to the police chief.
Correct.
Yeah, could we have an inventory? We had, what, 2 Segways,
Two
right?
Segways, yep.
Are they both there?
No, they're given to the Parks and Rec Department. One of them they still have. The other one got stolen. The issues with the Segways were the battery, just like a cell phone, like a cheap cell phone battery. They die out very quickly, so these officers are stranded in places. But I'd like to hear the chief come in and explain how they're stolen and that sort.
So let me ask you this. If there's a press conference, and I just feel a transparency thing, right? If you have a press conference and you announce how we're doing something, shouldn't you have a press conference afterwards to then report we're not doing it anymore? Like, you say, we're having Segways and we're patrolling Holyoke streets. Then when you find out that the batteries all die and no one's using them, and you actually give them away to the Park and Rec Department, don't you have some sort of moral obligation to call the newspaper up and say, hey, come on down, we wanted to give another press conference to say we're no longer using them and we gave them the Park and Rec, and by the way, one of them got stolen?
They didn't have a ride.
I wonder if there was a police report done on the stolen Segway. Councilor McGivern?
What would the Parks and Rec Department be doing with them? Why don't we just sell them and get a few dollars back?
They're checking the bleachers to make sure that they're all in good repair. They're going from park to park.
And to them is an it. So we're stationed at Community Field for the new park.
Mr. President?
Councilor Donaldson.
So the reason I filed this order, and it was before we went on our summer break, a couple of weeks before that, is because we've had an increase of breaking and enterings in Ward 4, and so we had some conversations with folks at HPD, and I made sure that we requested some bike patrols, and so this came up in the conversation with constituents about, if we have officers on foot doing the, what do you call it, walking the beat, and we have bike patrols, and we have all these, walking the beat, right? Yeah. I don't know what Councilor Alexander...
Segwaying.
Segwaying. So the question was, if we have different, options in the city, why are we not using them all? And somebody said, well, what about those Segways? And I said, I'll ask about it. So that's where it's coming from, because we're looking at ways in which we're not just relying on, obviously, cruisers and, as Councilor McGivern just said, if they're not being used, then why aren't we selling it? I mean, we definitely need the revenue. So, I would like the chief to respond and let us know where that's at.
Okay. Councilor Soto.
If I can just piggyback off what Councilor Valentine just said, I've been attending these community meetings, and people need to be a little more responsible too. And I know we live in a different time. We really need to start locking our doors in our cars and in our garage doors, and we really do. So, I mean, I went to that Ward 4 council meeting where and what they're doing now is they're kicking in air conditioners and they're going in. They're not taking anything big. They're just ransacking your bedrooms for purses and wallets, and they're bolting. They're in and out stuff. We really need to be a little more vigilant, and we need to call the police. We really need to call the police whenever you see anything in your neighborhood that's unusual. So, but I just wanted to piggyback off that. She's absolutely right. Anything that the police can do to sort of get mobilized a little better around neighborhoods, I'm all for that. So,
all right. All in favor of referring this to the police department?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 50 comes to us from Councilor Bartley, and that's that the DPW superintendent hang the picture frames depicting past Holyoke governments in City Hall outside of room 11. Please expedite.
Receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW?
Yes.
Second.
Can we make, at some point, I think we're going to have to make an ordinance. Yeah, this has been done a million times, and I just want you to know, I think we need to get to a point where this becomes a law. Because it's like, he doesn't do it. Well, and then he'll tell you, I get pushback from the mayor, or I get pushback from this one. Then I ask the mayor, I don't care. Then, and then you say, okay, well, if you don't care, then why doesn't Bill just do it? Then Bill will say, well, he does care. And, then you'll get the story about, we're ordering these fasteners because you see these pictures are really heavy, and I got to get this special fastener. And it's like the fasteners are on back order, and it's like literally every conceivable excuse known to man has been used to defeat the purpose of this order that you've adopted, which I have a cause myself and Joe McGivern have championed for years, which is hang the damn photos back up. Just to give you how bad this is, when we did the renovation of City Hall in 1999 and we put $2 million into doing, making it all nice, well, we had all the pictures up before that. They took them down to do that renovation. 16 years later, they're not back up.
Well, that's
and
why
this is a myriad of excuses. And it's the same guy who, I like Bill a lot, and he does a super job. But this is one where it's like, are you kidding me? What is the problem?
So the hope was just to compromise, which is right outside our own door, and let's see if he does
There's
it.
a lot of photos. You're going to need more than just outside the door.
No, I gathered that, but just so he can start outside there and
start from
that would be a beginning. Thank
All
you.
right, we'll see what happens. Councilor Soto.
Order if it's okay with the
Yeah, I'd like to sign on too. But might as well make it my 25th edition. Commemorative copy. This will be a gold layered collector edition order.
It's going to get a big gold frame, and we can hang it on the wall. In
Absolutely, just a standing order.
Team warriors. They need a really heavy.
You have to be on the Segway to hang them up on the hallway.
It'll be huge.
We'll see maybe if the fasteners are in. All in favor of adopting this order?
Aye.
So moved. Item 51. Order introduced by Councilor Bartley. City Council invite the school receiver to address the public and city councilors, perhaps at a DGNR meeting?
Well,
Or?
that's fine. I don't know if that'll get the same kind of bang for your buck, but I don't know if you want to think about having a special meeting at some point. But we'll go to DGR at this point. That's fine.
Yeah, probably.
Can you add my name to that, please?
Yeah, sure. Adding Councilor Valentin's name to this. Should we have it as a special meeting of the city council or have it as a committee hearing?
I think at least have it for the full city council, even if it's not a special meeting. Just have it at a full meeting of the city council.
Okay. So receive, adopt, and you'll leave it to my discretion. I'll work with you guys to figure out what's best.
If you would, Kevin, yeah.
And see if I can't get a hold of.
I prefer that.
Okay. So we'll refer this matter to the president. We'll adopt and refer to the president, and I'll work on getting something set up. That sound good?
That's
All right.
perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 52, introduced by Councilor Bartley. The Honorable Mike Albano, Governor's Counselor. Please invite him over to DGNR.
Yes, refer to DGR, please.
Okay. Purpose of that would be discussing the judgeships of the area?
And it's the same thing I've been talking about the whole time, is that if you have a committee like this where it's governmental relations, any counselor can refer anybody to come in to give an update. So Albano's job is to represent the.
Bless you.
I think he's the first. I think he's the 8th district, which is 100 some odd towns, and it's a myriad of issues, including what's going on at the trial court and maybe with the Veterans Court over here, judges, etc. I mean, it's not going to be a lengthy meeting, but it'll still be informative. And I encourage any counselor to invite any other person, whether a nonprofit or governmental person, to come in and provide their perspective.
President of Zimbabwe.
Sounds good.
Yes. All in favor of adopting this?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Councilor Bartley has introduced order item number 53, order that the DPW repair sidewalk on Westfield Road in front of Blessed Sacrament School.
Refer to DPW.
Okay.
Friendly amendment, Mr. President, with original materials.
With original materials. Yes. Seems like we have to say that now. So, all in favor of the amendment with original materials?
Aye.
So moved.
Opposed, so moved. All in favor of adopting, referring to the DPW?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 54. It's an order introduced by Councilor Bartley that the DPW replace the street sign at the intersection of Elmore and Granville Streets. The Elmore street sign is missing.
I received, adopt, and refer, but I'd like to also amend this if I may. I'm sorry. So,
Sure, what do you got?
I just want to add the street sign at Lawler and Martin is gone missing, and then add a road sign at 14345 Westfield Road. This is a constituent for to warn motorists that there's a visually
Add street sign at, what was that, Lawler and?
Street sign at Lawler and Martin.
At Lawler and Martin Streets.
And then the second part, Mr. President, is to amend to say to warn motorists of a visually impaired person at 14345 Westfield Road.
Okay, a warning sign at 145 Westfield Road.
Yes.
Warning of a visually impaired child.
In this case, it's an adult.
Okay, of a visually impaired person.
Where is Elmore? Do you know where that is?
Okay. So just to refresh councilors' memories here, we have two amendments on the floor. One is that we add a street sign at Lawler and Martin, and also add a warning sign out in front of 145 Westfield Road, warning of a visually impaired person. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. On adoption of Councilor Bartley's order as amended, receiving, adopting, and referring to the DPW, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 55, introduced by Councilor Bartley, that the City Council amend its Code of Ordinances to charge a $5 per parking space at the Mayor Prue and Mayor Topier garages for the duration of Celebrate Holyoke. This is similar to the ordinance change City Council made for the road race and parade weekend.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to suspend our rules and adopt this tonight.
Second.
Okay. Just so you know, councilors, in order to have something drawn into legal form and to vote on it, normally the standard rule is it has to go through ordinance and then off to the law department. The councilors requesting that we suspend the rules and that you be presented with the legal form so that you can vote on it this evening. That is doable in light of the circumstances that in preparation for this vote, if you were to vote to do that, the appropriate legal form is in writing this evening if you wish to adopt this. So, but it will require a suspension of the rules to do that. Okay? Any discussion? Councilor Soto.
I'd like to know who's going to get the funds.
City General Fund.
So they're going to hire a city person to oversee. There's going to be somebody from the city or from the parking department that's going to be being paid to collect $5 for each vehicle that's going to be parking there.
How did it handle at the road race and all that?
There'd be receipts given.
Right. It worked out very well, actually. If,
collected the money, if you recall.
The Valley Park is our vendor.
Valley Park.
Yeah. So it's a private contractor that already contracts with the city to manage Mayor Prue and Mayor Topier garages, Anthony. And so we've realized, I think, in almost $10,000 the last 2 years for road race weekend. So it does go to the general fund. So Valley Park provides that service. So this would be a similar thing where we do have a draft legal form tonight. I have conferred with the mayor's office. They are supportive, and Celebrate Holyoke people, they are supportive.
Okay. Councilor Alexander?
Yeah, just a quick question. Do we have the legal form actually somewhere?
If we suspend the rules, but in fairness to process, I did not want to have that rolled out until the council agrees to suspend the rules to allow us to go to that stage.
Okay. I just have a question on the actual text if we get to that point.
Sure. Okay. So all in favor of suspending the rules to allow the city council to consider this matter this evening and to have the legal form before us, and then we can go through the standard process of first, second reading, and then adoption. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. So, Kara, would you be kind enough to pass around or ask one of the counselors on that side to pass around the legal forms?
While she's doing that, can I make a
Yeah,
motion?
Councilor Leahy.
Can I make a motion to go back to item number 54?
54?
Just looking at my map here, and I don't believe that Elmore and Granville Streets, they don't intersect.
Okay. Do you want to just quickly touch on that?
It's Granville Street and Elmore Street, and the one that crosses is Lorraine Street.
Yeah, it's a sign in Elmore was missing.
So maybe Elmore and Lorraine?
Yeah, Elmore Street might be missing at Lorraine, Jim. I might have.
So why don't we suspend the rules to, well, actually, we don't need to suspend the rules. Just motion to reconsider our action on item number 54.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so moved. Item 54, you want to just put it as the Elmore Street sign
Yes,
be
it's Elmore's
replaced?
missing.
Yeah, as soon as the
So
DPW
let's
they can
just delete the first sentence then, right? You don't
Yeah.
really need to categorize it as an intersection, just say the Elmore Street sign is missing, right?
That's it, yeah, that's
Okay.
the one's missing.
Okay. So, motion to amend to delete the first sentence?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Adoption of the order as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay. We now have the legal form before us relative to item number 55. Councilor Lisi, do you want to pick it up from here in terms of the first reading, or should we just have, you want to just continue with Councilor Bartley doing that? Dave?
So I'm just
Pass the first reading?
motion to suspend. Well, we're under suspension.
We're already under suspension of rules, so to go to first reading.
Motion to pass the first reading.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to pass the first reading. And let me just briefly read the ordinance, is that special event fees, an amendment. Currently, it reads, a $5 flat daily parking rate shall be charged from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Dwight Street parking garage and the Suffolk Street parking deck for St. Patrick's Day weekend, amendment you are about to vote for, and celebrate Holyoke weekend. That is the 1, 2, 3, 4 words you, by your vote, will be adding to this ordinance if adopted. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Do we have to address Friday night because we have regular parking in the decks up until 5 o'clock? Or can we just assume it's Friday night on?
So, celebrate Holyoke's on Friday, or we would
I think just the Saturday and Sunday's fine. I think the way it's written is fine.
So you get a freebie for Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. That's a good catch, though, but he's right, but I think that would just cause confusion.
I just want to cause problem for the regular parkers.
No, I think that's a good catch,
Yeah.
but I think it would just cause confusion. I think Karen did a
Right,
good
so
job.
leaving Friday alone doesn't
Friday
mess with the
alone.
regular
Yeah,
parkers.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Councilor Alexander?
Just, and maybe it doesn't matter, but the order was for the Topier and I forget whose garage.
Prue.
And Prue, thank you. And this one is for the Dwight garage on the parking on the Suffolk Street deck. Do we need to have the current names? Does that matter? Does it?
We haven't gotten around to changing it in the ordinance, but they'll know what it means, the
We
Dwight
haven't.
Street and Suffolk Street.
I'm just thinking in terms of ticketing ability or whatever, or charging ability. This works?
Yeah, because I think those are kind of honorary titles, if anything else, too. Did anybody else want to be heard? Councilor Soto?
Thank you, Mr. President. I personally, I couldn't go along with this order. I mean, I think that it's great, you know, the rough estimate was thrown out of an amount of money, but I think at the times that we are now, and I think in bringing back Celebrate Holyoke, we'd want to encourage people to come. And, you know, families are you know, they're really tight right now. People are tight with the buck, and I think that I'd rather see the individuals spend the $5 on a beverage or something they're liking than to have to pick up another cost to park. I think that we should encourage individuals to get down to Holyoke and come down to this event. And I think by adding another fee, because this is what it is, this is a fee to families, I think it's the wrong message we're sending. I think we should try to encourage individuals to come enjoy themselves and open up their wallets on other things at the event, not for parking. Thank you.
So, Lisi.
Thank you. I think that this is a great order. I thought we saw that it is a lucrative endeavor for the city for these two days that we're going to be opening up the garage for the public. Really, I mean, it's not so much about the money. I think it's really like, I agree with everything that Councilor Soto said. We're encouraging families to come down to celebrate Holyoke from within the city and beyond the city. But when I think about these two parking garages in relation to Heritage State Park, it's really premium parking. So I don't mind assessing a fee onto whether it's residents or people coming from out of town for this premium parking, because there is an abundance of free parking downtown if they're willing to walk. If they want something a little bit closer, they could pay for it.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Second reading?
Pass the second reading.
Motion to pass second reading.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
And motion that the passage be ordained.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that the passage be ordained. There is no further discussion. The clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of the ordinance change. A no vote is to deny it.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Soto,
No.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Valentin,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Chatnoff,
Yes.
Graney,
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yes.
11 yeas, 1 nay.
By your vote, you've approved the ordinance change. Item number 56 is an order introduced by Councilor Bartley that the city amend its code of ordinances to sunset longevity bonuses for employees hired after January 1st, 2016, or some date to which the city council agrees. This order would not directly impact any union employees. This order would not affect any current employees. This order would not impact any city contracts.
Ordinance,
Motion
please.
to orange.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive
Add my
and
name
refer
to that one,
ordinance with respectfully adding Councilor Alexander as a co-sponsor
Bacon also, please.
and Vacan as a co-sponsor. Okay, all in favor of referring to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 57. Item number 57 comes to us also from Councilor Bartley. In light of the interest in accepting formerly unaccepted streets, order that the mayor and DPW superintendent provide to the city council a realistic cost estimate prior to starting.
Receive, adopt, and refer to DPW.
Second.
Add my name
The
to
mayor?
that one too, please.
Yep, motion's been made and seconded to receive this order, adopt it, and refer to the DPW and mayor, adding Councilor Alexander as a co-sponsor. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, and I'd be open to an amendment on this. I just want to point out to the folks here, when an ordinance, when Bill came in to discuss this, I think it was with Jim's order on Liberty Street, but I might be wrong. We asked him, can you give us an estimate about what this will cost, and he really couldn't. Except it would be in the tens of thousands of dollars. Now, why is that? Because when you are laying out a house, there's a plot plan, and there's a mortgage survey. They have various costs. When you are now laying out a street, you can multiply that cost by however many homes are on a city street. It goes into the thousands of dollars. Now, we all feel warm and fuzzy we want to adopt all these streets, but it costs a lot of money. And then Bill said, well, we can maybe get our money back with increase in city street miles and Chapter 90 funds and a formula, all that. I said, well, Bill, what's the time estimate on our return of investment? Oh, I don't know, maybe 25 years. Okay, so I agree that these streets, for whatever historical reason, they're private ways. I don't like it, but to make them public ways is not a free thing. And so all I like to say, when we file these orders, that we go in with a realistic expectation. That's all. Of course.
Well, this shouldn't be a real deep, dark mystery because we did Mount St. Vincent Road not too long ago. So how much did that cost, right? I mean, that's a case study of, that was only, maybe 6 years ago that we did that? I mean, what was the cost of that? Just multiply that by, there's maybe 6 houses that are affected,
all
8
I want to do is
houses,
just know
whatever.
what it costs beforehand. That's all.
Yeah, whatever
So
it is,
Not a biggie.
It shouldn't be that great a mystery. Councilor Bacon?
And if I may, because there have been at least one construction project since I've been serving on the council, and it was made a private way because people wanted a special deal, but it didn't meet the city requirements. So I think we need to be careful, particularly when people signed up to have a private way. Do we want to take responsibilities for these streets that were not in compliance with being a street? I can see the argument where people don't know they're on a private road, but it would seem that the deeds should generally reflect if you're buying property where it's not on a public way. So I think there's a lot of concern there, and it's a good order. Thanks.
The harder problem is asking the owners to give up their interest in the street and getting all that paperwork filled out. That's the bigger issue, because it almost reverts to like an alleyway. You know, it sort of yours out to the middle of the street.
On the motion.
But
I just have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Do we have any idea what neighboring cities and towns do with private ways? I mean, that I would be interested in kind of
we should
knowing
look
about
into
that.
Yep.
So maybe amending a friendly amendment to add something here about that Bill also shares with us
Other communities.
what neighboring communities are doing with private ways.
Okay, so an add and review what other communities are doing. Yeah, other neighboring communities.
So I
All in
don't,
favor of the amendment?
I don't know if Bill should report to a committee or what, but I hadn't really thought about that much. But I just want him to at least let us know prior to commencement. So
Do you want to put it in public safety?
maybe so. So maybe a copy of public safety.
Okay.
Can I make
All right.
that amendment, please?
Second.
Sure. So, as amended, to send this to receive, adopt with a copy to public safety, and refer to the mayor and DPW, and asking for a report back to the Public Safety Committee. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 58. Item number 58 is also from Councilor Bartley. Due to constituents' concerns, order that the HPD set up traffic enforcement on West Glen Street. Also order that temporary speed humps be set up on West Glen Street as soon as possible.
Receive, adopt, and refer to HPD and DPW.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, refer to the Police Department and the DPW. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 59, introduced by Councilor Bartley, that due to traffic violations and a number of accidents, the city should work with the owners of Kmart Plaza to reconfigure the Whitings Farm Road entrance and exit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably didn't word this the best, but I guess I want to refer this to ordinance committee if I could, with a copy to the city engineer.
Okay. Motion is to
Second.
receive, refer to the ordinance committee with a copy to the city engineer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 60, also introduced by Councilor Bartley. DPW repaint the do not block the box lines on Northampton Street near Gilman and Clark Streets. DPW trim branches covering 391 sign on Resnick Boulevard and 202 sign at the corner of Homestead and Cherry.
I receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 61.
Can we take suspend the rules and take 61 and 2 as a package with an abbreviated reading?
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to receive items 61 and 62 and take them up as a package. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Under the abbreviated reading, there is a request here to consider an offer from, in item number 61, to consider an offer from Stephen Bosco to purchase a parcel of land located at 99 Beach Street for $7,500. It has an assessed value of $26,900, and Mr. Bosco would like to purchase this to make a green space or a community garden. Item number 62 is introduced by Councilors Bartley and Valentin, and that is to accept an offer from Stephen Bosco to purchase the parcel of land located at 416 418 Appleton Street for $4,600. Currently assessed at $4,600. He'd like to use this for parking. Those are the two items.
Good luck.
Joe, no.
Joe?
Just motion.
Clear for the zip cars.
Wow, Gordon, just a
So
DGR.
we have these two items before
Just
the body.
Just a
What's the-
DGR, please, if I may.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to DGNR. Any discussion?
Kevin.
Councilor Tallman?
Just briefly, and Steve was here tonight, and I spoke to him about this last week. One of the one on Appleton Street, he actually showed me it's a city lot now, and it's totally over. It's right across from the Wise parking lot, and you're familiar. It's right next to that park, right down from Beach Street, and the DPW is supposed to clear it out, and it's probably about 8 feet high, 6 to 8 feet high, and it's just terrible. So I mean, we bring this to committee, both that we could discuss this, and I'd rather see this in somebody's hands that's going to take care of it than anywhere else. So.
I'll work with Josie to bring Steve into the committee, and we'll get him in.
Steve said he wasn't leaving until there was action on these tonight.
Well, he was smart
we
to
tested his endurance.
Well, I approached him and told him
Oh,
that
did you?
it was going to be hours before we got to item 61 and
I'm only
62.
jazzing.
so-
I'm only
That's
jazzing.
fine.
Councilor Soto.
Yeah, just really quick, and maybe we could pick it up in the committee meeting, but what reassurance if someone says that they're going to purchase something for a garden, and then a couple of years down the road they change their mind?
You have no assurances.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Put a deed restriction on it.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Okay, we'll see if those get written in.
Thank you.
Why would you do that?
Yep. All in favor of referring to DGNR?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item number 63 is an order introduced by Councilor Bartley that the City Council approve an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Amherst, the City of Holyoke, the City of Northampton, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, the City of Springfield, and UMass Amherst for a regional bike share program. Copy of the proposal is attached.
DGR, please.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive, refer to DGNR. Councilor Lisi.
Please sign me on to that.
Adding Councilor Lisi as a co-sponsor.
Mr. President,
Councilor Soto.
if it's okay with the maker,
Adding Councilor Soto as a co-sponsor.
Could add me to that one, too.
Adding Councilor Alexander as a co-sponsor. Adding Councilor Valentin.
Dream them up.
Very good.
So I do. I sit on my
All
hill
in
and
favor
dream
of
stuff
referring
up.
to DGNR? Opposed? So moved.
Yeah.
Item number 64 is an order introduced by Councilor Jordan. This is the previously alluded to ordinance change, zoning change that I proposed. The zoning section 7.1.14 be amended as follows by adding the following clause: parking lots or structures designed to serve these institutions and their accessory uses and buildings are allowed, whether or not a fee is charged for their use, provided that parking lots shall only be allowed by special permit of the City Council. Receive, refer to the ordinance committee.
Second.
Okay, Councilor Soto? Sure, adding Councilor Soto. All in favor of sending the ordinance?
Aye.
So moved. Item 65 is an order introduced by Councilor Jordan that the slow handicap child sign currently in front of St. Jerome Cemetery please be moved on the one telephone pole closer to Sargent Street so drivers have more notice of the child who lives across the street. Receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW, please.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 66. Item number 66 is an order introduced by Councilor Jordan that the G&E repair the concrete sidewalk in front of 6365 Columbus Avenue with actual concrete and not an asphalt patch. The sidewalk was cut open when a gas line had to be replaced. And I've received assurances from Mr. Lavelle. We're on it. So I'd ask that we receive, adopt, and refer this to the G&E.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item 67, order introduced by Councilor Jordan, that the city declare surplus and place for sale either by auction or RFP the city-owned two-family house located at 3234 Greenwood Avenue. This should be done as soon as possible in light of the degrading condition of the property. I'd ask that this be received, adopt, referred to the treasurer and the law department.
Second.
Anybody else care that we would need to notify? That's it? Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, this is already a city-owned property?
Yes, for about 5 years. Fire department's been using it for training exercises periodically. The house is completely beginning to collapse. There's a hole in the roof. It's just a mess, and all the people that live on Greenwood, Royal, Thomas, Claremont, they look at it in disgust and say,
Ridiculous.
Thank you, City of Holyoke. I'm so glad when I send my taxes in that I get to look at this eyesore that the city owns. So we can't blame some other third-party owner. This is us. We're the absentee landlord here. So we need to take this down or sell it to somebody to turn it into an actual house again. So I'd request that we receive, adopt, and refer to the
Copy
DPW.
to the mayor's office, too.
Councilor Soto? Yep, adding Councilor Soto's name as a co-sponsor. So this is just adding Councilor McGivern
Add Graney to that.
and Councilor Graney. This is just classic good government here. Somebody found a loophole, so we have to fix it. Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. And I just want to note also, if you review your budget documents, this was sold to us like it was going to be such a great boon of money coming into the city. And if you look at the documentation, I think we got a net income of $180,000 for this license. So once again, it's sort of smelling a little bit like the Gandara lease.
But at least we voted on the Gandara lease. This we didn't get a chance to vote on. So we got to fix that. So motion is to send it over to ordinance. Aye. All in favor? Aye. Oh, so moved. Okay. We're now in the late file section. Not too many. Six or seven. We'll make this quick.
Late to file them, and there's still 6 or 7 late file?
Late file A, introduced by yours truly, Councilor Jordan, that no parking ordinance be established for no parking between Ridgewood Avenue exit to Friendly's and the driveway to 15 Ridgewood Avenue. Refer to ordinance, please. All in favor? So moved. Late file B, introduced by Councilors Jordan and McGee, that the DPW replace the sidewalk in front of and near 1823 Northampton Street with a cement sidewalk, recurring theme. It is supposed to be a cement sidewalk and not a blacktop sidewalk. It is now a patchwork of two, which looks most unappealing, especially for a marquee street of the city with lots of pedestrians. It also should be noted that the DPW, when they install the cement sidewalks, need to be sensitive to the pitch and elevations of the cement. The current sidewalk does not properly drain, causing puddling and freezing in the winter. This needs to be fixed because it has become a danger to pedestrians. Please fix as soon as possible. So I'd ask that we suspend the rules to allow final action on this item.
Motion to suspend, adopt, refer to DPW.
All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Motion to receive, adopt, and refer to the DPW.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Late file C, introduced by Councilor Jordan, that the sidewalks on the even side of Norwood Terrace between 48 and 16 be replaced as soon as possible. The curbing is missing and the sidewalks are in terrible condition and uneven. I'd ask for final action on this. Motion to suspend the rules.
Suspend, receive, adopt, refer.
All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Motion to receive, adopt, and refer late file C to the DPW. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file D is a communication from Sandy Smith, our acting treasurer, regarding continuation to collect outstanding tax title liens owed to the city. Here is what the treasurer office has collected from February to July 31st for the city council to review. Opening balance, number of titles, 493. Book value, $8.6 million. Collection payment plans, 121 titles for $1.3 million. Current balance, 372 remaining titles. Book value, $7.2 million. Collections efforts resolved, 25% of outstanding titles, 15% of outstanding debt. This goes on and on. I request that a copy, the administrative assistant or the clerk's office, please send a copy of late file D to all counselors, please, because there's a lot of statistics on it.
We have them on our desk.
What's that? We have it on the desk? Okay, then maybe just a motion to receive then?
Receive it.
Okay, motion to receive.
We should address it in finance, though, because it relates to the other
Refer to
orders
finance?
about how to deal
Want to
with
refer
that.
to finance? Okay. Receive, refer to finance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file E, also from Ms. Smith, regarding section 2-349 of the ordinances of the city. In accordance with the above reference ordinance, I am submitting to you a list of property acquired by Mass General Law, Chapter 60, for non-payment of taxes. She goes on to list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and by the way, 32 Greenwood Avenue. That's an oldie but goodie. That was on there. And there's a bunch on Sun Valley Road, Suffolk Street, yada, yada. You have the list. So motion just that receive, refer to finance. DGNR. Receive, refer to DGNR. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Late file F. Order introduced by Councilor McGee It's about adopting the provisions of the TDI placemaking grant. This should go to finance. Motion to receive, refer this grant request over to finance. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Late file G is a request to transfer $2,400 from the auditor's pay to some professional auditing and supplies.
Receive and refer to finance.
Finance, second.
Motion to receive, refer to finance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Late file H, introduced by Councilor Lisi, that the city consider replacing the bus stop at the corner of Hampshire and Maple. It was recently deleted, but serves as a busy connection between buses coming down Hampshire.
Receive, send to ordinance.
Okay, motion is to receive and refer to ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. That's the end of the agenda. Motion to adjourn. That's seconded. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. We stand adjourned.
Congratulations, everyone. We got out before midnight.
That's not too bad, actually.
Not too bad.
It really is at 10:30. We've had much
I
worse.
did too. So see, that way we're happily surprised.
Hey.